Chapter 1362. On the streets of Heaven Saint Kingdom's capital, a superior white unicorn galloped on the streets, attracting the curses of many passers-by. However, Lu Chen couldn't care less. He whipped his horse and rushed out of Heaven Saint Kingdom's capital. As Lu Chen's Jiutian equipment had all lost its effectiveness, he couldn't use many skills. He could only use 9 steps in the void and ghostly shadows. But the problem was that he couldn't use the spiritual energy storm, so he couldn't keep moving. The cloud-stepping colt was a famous Tianyuan colt. Although it couldn't really fly, it was extremely fast. Moreover, the mountain roads were like flat ground. Lu Chen arrived at Heaven Martial Kingdom in 20 days for a journey that would have taken 2 months. But in Heaven Martial Kingdom, even the cloud-stepping colt couldn't take it for 20 days without rest. Its speed was greatly reduced. Cloud-stepping colt, I know you are tired, but please hold on a little longer. We will be there soon, Lu Chen said anxiously. 5 days later, Heaven Martial Kingdom's capital, Heaven Martial City. As one of the 3 major families in Heaven Martial Kingdom, the Dongfang family occupied 1/5 of the city on the east side of Heaven Martial City. Just the size of the city was enough to make people gasp in amazement. Half of the military and political officials in Heaven Martial Kingdom were from the Dongfang family. Even the mother of Heaven Martial Kingdom was from the Dongfang family. This showed how powerful the Dongfang family was. At this moment, in the Dongfang family's huge martial arts field, tens of thousands of Dongfang family members were gathered there, waiting for a ceremony. The entire martial arts field was covered with red blood runes. There were 2 array cores in the array. One was a huge iron pillar that was dozens of meters tall, and the other was a crystal bed. On the iron pillar, there was a girl nailed with thick iron nails. The girl's hands, arms, and legs were nailed to the iron pillar, unable to move. In front of the girl, there was a wooden platform. On the wooden platform, there were all kinds of shocking knives. They were of different shapes and exquisite workmanship, but most of them had strange shapes. No one could guess what they were used for. The girl couldn't stop crying, but her tears seemed to have dried up. Now 2 streams of blood flowed out. What do you want? Let me go. Mother, Uncle Tai, brother. At the same time, a 7 or 8-year-old boy, accompanied by a middle-aged couple, walked to another sickbed in the eye of the formation. He was about to take off his shoes and climb up when he heard Lu Wanner's screams. The boy suddenly walked in front of Lu Wanner, picked up a sharp needle from the table, and stabbed it into Lu Wanner's shoulder expressionlessly. Wanner was a girl who was not even 10 years old. She could not help but cry out in pain. The boy remained unmoved and looked at Lu Wanner indifferently. I heard that your older brother escaped from our Dongfang clan. Unfortunately, your Lu clan still owes us, so you've appeared. Trash, it's your honor to be able to provide me with a spirit vein. Don't be ungrateful. At this moment, the boy's parents hurried over. Why are you touching her? Don't dirty your hands. Lu Wanner's spirit vein is extremely rare. As long as you transplant her spirit vein, you can practice martial arts, forge weapons, and refine medicine. Don't kill her yet. Lu Wanner's eyes widened as she stared at Dongfang Xuanyu. What did you say? Your Dongfang clan is the murderer of my Lu clan. Dongfang Xuanyu looked at Lu Wanner with a half-smile. What? You still don't know? Oh right. You weren't even born then. Looks like your family protected you well. They didn't tell you these things in detail. That's right, my Dongfang clan killed your Lu clan. So what? I only hate that I was born too late and didn't make it in time. Speaking of that extermination, I'm so angry. You actually let that trash Lu Chen escape? Think about it. A person with a 9-star chaos spiritual vein. Yet no one has heard from him for 8 years. How bad is his comprehension ability? He should have handed over the spirit vein obediently back then. That would have saved him so many years of wandering. That's enough. It's about to start. Why waste your breath on this person? The man pulled Dongfang Xuanyu back. Dongfang Xuanyu turned around and looked at Lu Wanner, whose eyes were bloodshot. Don't worry, your family will be reunited soon. Whether it's your mother, your family's guard dog, your grandfather, or that trash of a brother, we won't let any of them off. Although Lu Wanner was still young, ever since her brother left, she had become more and more sensible. She had always been smart and quick-witted. From the words of Uncle Tai, her mother, and her grandfather, she had learned about what had happened back then. Dongfang clan, I won't let you off even if I turn into a ghost. However, none of the tens of thousands of Dongfang clan members took Lu Wan'er's words to heart. They were still busy with their work. The experts of the Dongfang clan sat in the audience and waited leisurely. Yuer's luck is really good. A 9-star 3 spiritual vein, and it's a metal, fire, and wood spiritual vein. This kind of spiritual vein is definitely a top-grade spiritual vein. I wonder what the Lu clan accumulated in their previous life. Lu Chen has a 9-star chaos spiritual vein, and Lu Wan'er has a 9-star 3 spiritual vein. What can the Lu clan accumulate? In the end, won't they belong to our Dongfang clan? It's a pity that we didn't get Lu Chun, that little bastard's spiritual vein. What a waste. The poor study while the rich practice martial arts. It's not enough to become an expert with a good spiritual vein. Lu Chen and the others are poor in the Heavenly Saint Empire. How could they have the financial resources to support Lu Chen's cultivation? What a waste of a good spiritual vein. Right at this time, a subordinate hurried over. Patriarch, elders Qin Yueqin, Duke Qin, and Atai have been captured. How should we deal with them? Oh, a middle-aged man stood up with interest. We haven't seen each other for 8 years. You finally caught them today? If Lu Chen was here, he would definitely recognize this person. It was Dongfang Bai, the person who killed his father. Yes, they didn't know that we've been watching them for a long time. They were loitering outside the residence for several days. When Atai rushed over, they were captured in one go. Dongfang Bai nodded. Then how about this? Since we're all acquaintances, why don't we let them come together and watch us dig out Lu Wan'er's spiritual vein before killing them? What do you think? Haha. A strong man in the main seat laughed. This man was tall and sturdy and looked to be around 40 years old. However, his aura was oppressive, and the surrounding elders couldn't compare with him. Elder Bai, you really know how to play. This method is wonderful. Quick. Bring them here. Yes, Patriarch. The servant hurried off. This man was the patriarch of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Qinglong. Not long after, someone brought 3 people to the array. 1. When Yueqin saw Lu Wan'er, she couldn't help but cry and tremble. Mother. Atai glared at the Dongfang family. You bastards are worse than pigs and dogs. You're completely heartless. With a slap, a Dongfang family member next to him slapped him. Be quiet. Dongfang Bai stood up. Men, tie this family in front of Lu Wan'er and open their eyelids. I want them to watch as Lu Wan'er's spirit vein is dug out. Chapter 1363. The spirit transferring meridian exchanging array was already in operation. An old man walked to the front of the wooden platform and picked a suitable tool from the table. Lu Wan'er looked past the old man and saw her grandfather, mother, and Uncle Tai kneeling in front of her. Mother, don't be sad. Lu Wan'er was already trembling with fear, but she still comforted her mother. It's a pity that I have the spirit vein, but I can't avenge the Lu family. Wan'er, mother is sorry. Qin Gong was already in tears. Heavens, please open your eyes. Why do you treat Wan'er like this? She's just a child. Wan'er, Uncle Tai is useless, Uncle Tai is useless. Master, I Atai have failed you. I didn't protect Miss well. Atai was heartbroken. The Lu family fought desperately to defend against foreign enemies, but in the end, the family was destroyed. Damned heavens, is this your arrangement? Why? Dongfang Bai stood in front of the 3 and sneered. Don't you know? In the Tianwu kingdom, the Dongfang family is the heavens. For a small family like yours, the fate of the weak is just a toy in my hands. If I want you to live, you will live. If I want you to die, you will die. If I want you to die, not only will your family be exterminated, you will also have to bear the infamy. Remember, the heavens won't protect ants like you. Wan'er suddenly said angrily. No. Even if you kill us, I believe my brother won't let you go. Your brother? Dongfang Bai laughed. Are you talking about that stray dog Lu Chen? Dongfang Bai stretched out his arms and said loudly. The Dongfang family has more than 70,000 foreign clans, including 430 spiritual kings, 123 spiritual emperors, 3 immortals and 1 immortals. The Dongfang family is known as the Azure Dragon clan, with a divine beast guarding it. The family is prosperous and powerful. Tell me, how can your brother fight with us? Let me tell you, even if I can't transplant his spirit vein now, I will catch him and hang his corpse in public. Oh right, that's how I treat your father. Of course, I won't neglect your brother. Duke Qin's voice was filled with tears as he roared. Dongfang Bai, you crazy bastard. You're not human. Dongfang Bai walked up to eunuch Qin with a cold look in his eyes. Then he slapped him across the face. How could Duke Qin withstand Dongfang Bai's slap? He immediately vomited blood and fell to the ground, unable to get up. Father. Qin Yueqin's body trembled when she saw that her father's condition was unknown. She was already on the verge of collapse. Remember, my Dongfang family is the heavens. Those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will perish. Dongfang Bai looked at the Lu family members coldly. The auspicious time has arrived. Prepare to dig out the spirit vein. The old man in charge of digging the spirit vein had already chosen his tools, and was walking towards her. However, Wanner had used up all her strength. Her tears fell silently. The sky suddenly darkened, as if it was going to rain. Heaven and earth were dim, just like this world where there was no hope. At this time, Lu Wanner also understood that it was useless to struggle. The only thing left now was to accept her fate. The only consolation was that her brother had not been caught yet. When she was very young, her brother would always take her to the forest and let her watch him cultivate. Unfortunately, she was too young at that time and only knew how to cause trouble for her brother, and make him play with her. At that time, if the children in the village bullied her, no matter how big or strong they were, her brother would definitely stand in front of her and protect her. As long as there was good food at home, her brother would definitely secretly give his share to her. Her brother had said that he would always protect her. Brother. Lu Wanner's tear-stained and blood-stained face revealed a gratified smile. Fortunately, you went back on your word this time. Brother, don't avenge us. The Dongfang family is too scary. Wanner only hopes that you can live well. Brother, Wanner misses you so much. Heavy rain poured down. There was a loud boom. A bolt of lightning in the sky lit up the entire training field. This bolt of lightning also illuminated the entrance of the training field. An incomparably malevolent face appeared. An angry roar resounded through heaven and earth. Today, everyone in the Dongfang family, from the head of the family to the livestock, will die for me. Hearing this angry roar, everyone looked in the direction of the entrance of the training field. At this moment, a man and a spear were standing at the entrance of the training field. Lu Chen. Dongfang Bai narrowed his eyes slightly. Am I seeing things? How could there be such an idiot? Before Dongfang Bai could finish speaking, the figure had already disappeared from where he stood. In the blink of an eye, a blood-curdling scream came from behind him. Unknowingly, Lu Chen had already arrived in front of the old man who was walking towards Wanner. In front of the old man was a terrifying face. How dare you touch my sister? Lu Chen roared angrily. Holding the front half of the spear in his hand, he directly pierced the old man's heart. This spear was not a stab, but a smash. There was a loud boom. Due to the excessive force, the old man's body was directly thrown horizontally in midair. At the same time that the spear pierced through his body, the old man was directly blasted into the ground by the huge impact. The ground paved with black basalt was directly smashed into a large pit. At the same time that the old man was hit by the spear, most importantly, the force of Lu Chen's fist bombarded the old man, causing his entire chest to collapse. Lu Chen's nostrils flared angrily. In an instant, he pulled out his spear and stabbed dozens of times, directly stabbing the old man's face. The old man's face was instantly unrecognizable. His head turned into a pile of flesh and bones. All of this happened too quickly. No one from the Dongfang family could stop it in time, and the old man was already dead. What kind of speed is this? Dongfang Bai's eyes widened. A bolt of lightning pierced the sky again. He saw with his own eyes that Lu Chen's figure flashed, and was already behind him. Dongfang Bai reacted extremely quickly. It was obvious that Lu Chen wanted to save people. He snorted coldly, "Save people? Dream on. I'll let you watch your mother be killed." After saying that, he directly waved his sword and released sword energy. He actually wanted to kill Qin Yueqin and the other two first. He was right in front of the three. No matter how fast Lu Chen was, he could not be faster than him. However, the moment he waved his sword energy, a cold light suddenly flashed behind him. He had miscalculated. Lu Chen was not here to save people, but to kill him. At the critical moment, Dongfang Bai hurriedly gave up his attack and quickly dodged. However, the other party did not chase after him. Instead, he took the opportunity to kill the guards behind Qin Yueqin and the other two. Dongfang Bai's eyes widened in anger. This guy's purpose was to save people, but he actually dared to make a diversion under such circumstances. Qin Yueqin looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. However, after thinking about it, she could not help but become nervous again. She hurriedly said, You go quickly." Lu Chen turned around and looked at his mother with heartache. He held back his tears and said in a trembling voice, "Mother, I'm late. I've made you and Wan'er suffer." I didn't want you to know, but Lu Chen's heart ached. Mother did not want him to take risks, so she hid this matter from him. However, the more she did so, the more heartache he felt. Unfortunately, now was not the time to talk. "Mother, Uncle Tai, you go save Wan'er. I'll be right there." Lu Chen did not explain much and flashed to Qin Yueqin's side. Qin Yueqin was still breathing. Lu Chen hurriedly carried Qin Yueqin. Qin Yueqin suddenly grabbed Lu Chen. "Grandfather can't take it anymore." Qin Yueqin was only a mortal, and he was already old. How could he withstand Dongfang Bai's palm strike? His injuries were too serious. At this time, only an immortal body pill could save him. Unfortunately, in the Tianyuan continent, there was no immortal body pill. "Qin, protect your mother, Wan'er." With that, Qin Yueqin breathed his last. Chapter 1364. Grandfather. Lu Chen raised his head and wailed. His tears flowed uncontrollably, mixing with the rain. "Ha ha ha ha, Lu Chen, are you sad?" Dongfang Bai laughed. "I should have been gentler just now. That way, your grandfather would have said a few more words to you. It's my fault, my fault." Lu Chen abruptly turned his head and glared at the person who spoke. "Dongfang Bai, I'm going to tear you to pieces." "Oh really? I'm so scared," Dongfang Bai said, but his face was full of mockery. "But Lu Chen, I really didn't expect you to have the guts to barge into my Dongfang family. TSK. I thought it would take some effort to catch you, but now this idiot has delivered himself to my door." Lu Chen ignored Dongfang Bai. He picked up Duke Qin's body and walked to his family. Uncle Tai peeled off Wan'er's clothes one by one. When Qin Yueqin learned of her father's death, she was devastated, but on the other side, she picked up Wan'er, who couldn't stand. "Grandfather." Wan'er sadly looked at Duke Qin's body. Although the old man was only a mortal, he gave everything he had to the brother and sister pair. Lu Chen gently put down Duke Qin's body and crouched down to touch Wan'er. "Wan'er, I'm sorry brother came late." "Brother, you should leave quickly. They're too powerful." Wan'er cried as she looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen's eyes were full of tenderness. "Silly girl, you rest here. Leave the rest to brother. What the Dongfang family owes us, I'll take it all back with interest." Qin Yueqin pulled Lu Chen. Uncle Tai wanted to say something, but Lu Chen didn't stop. "Mother, Uncle Tai, Qin knows what to do. Today, I'm here to settle our grudges." After saying that, Lu Chen stood up and coldly looked at Dongfang Bai. "You dog, that day you brought people to massacre my Lu family, but I escaped. Today, I'm saving people right under your nose. Tell me, what's the use of you? What right do you have to shout here?" Dongfang Bai hated Lu Chen to the bone. The main reason was because he let Lu Chen run away back then, causing him to lose face. In addition, he had been careless just now, falling into Lu Chen's trap. Being schemed against by a little kid, Dongfang Bai felt even more ashamed. At this time, after being provoked by Lu Chen, Dongfang Bai suddenly burned with anger. "All right, you dare to talk to me like that? I'll make your whole family suffer a fate worse than death," Dongfang Bai said angrily. Then, Dongfangbai looked at the audience and cupped his fists. Patriarch, elders, Elder Su is dead. Today's spirit vein transplant may be postponed. Dongfang Qinglong calmly sat at his seat. So be it. How dare he barge into my Dongfang family? Don't let him die so easily. Dongfangbai smiled slightly. Yes, Patriarch. After receiving the Patriarch's order, Dongfangbai no longer had any misgivings and shouted, Men, take him down. Remember, don't kill him. His life is mine. The surrounding 10,000 people responded, yes. There was no longer a need to maintain the spirit vein transplant array. Thousands of people had already surrounded them. Lu Chen stood in front of his family, holding his spear. Kill. A large number of black shadows rushed over like a tide. Lu Chen kicked the spear with his right foot. The red spear spun in his hand, and then Lu Chen shouted angrily, None of your Dongfang family is innocent. Die for me. The rain was majestic, thunder roared, and the world was dark. Blood suddenly appeared. Lu Chen's figure was blurred. The blood remnant spear in his hand was like a flame in the dark, jumping among countless enemies. 9-star acupuncture, cloud-piercing spear, pneumatic skill. After millions of practice, Lu Chen's spear had become an instinct of his body. The power of the Earth Fiend Xianming spear was displayed to the extreme at this moment. Sometimes, the enemies in front of Lu Chen would explode and die. Sometimes, the enemies waiting for an opportunity 100 meters away would suddenly explode. Coupled with Lu Chen's rich combat experience and skills, thousands of people charged, but no one could get within 10 meters of Lu Chen. Under the Earth Fiend Xianming spear, there were no complete corpses. And Lu Chen's subordinates were also killed. The entire martial arts arena was filled with endless blood and flesh. In the audience, Dongfang Qinglong narrowed his eyes. That kid is using the Earth Fiend Xianming spear? This spear technique is so overbearing that it's impossible to guard against. An elder said, I've heard of people who practiced it before, but most of them were poor people who couldn't afford a good technique, and no one could use this kind of effect. This spear technique is famous for being useless, but it's also famous for being difficult to practice. Just the first level alone requires one to use the spear 100,000 times before one can get started. Another person snorted. So what if he mastered the first few levels? I'm not worried at all. Who doesn't know that the last 3 moves of the Earth Fiend Xianming spear are the strongest 3 moves? It's impossible to master them. Dongfang Qinglong nodded. That was true. At this moment, Lu Chen was only killing some outer clan disciples, so there was nothing to worry about. However, Dongfangbai was a little impatient. Thousands of people couldn't take down Lu Chen alone? Although these outer clan disciples weren't strong, they were still above the level of Soul Master. Lu Chen killed them like chickens. What level was this kid at? Thousands of people besieged him, but in the end, only wreckage was left. The blood was washed away by the rain, but there was too much blood and the rain couldn't wash it all away. Dongfangbai, is this all you've got? Dongfang family, is this all you've got? Lu Chen roared angrily. It seems that the Dongfang family is just a bunch of trash. Dongfangbai was furious. Kill him. More and more enemies surged over like a black tide, covering the entire training field. Lu Chen roared, Come on. Earth Fiend Xianming spear, 100-mile dark crow. Lu Chen shot out like lightning. Before the enemies got close, they were probably still 200 to 300 meters away from Lu Chen, but thousands of people felt their chests being tapped 9 times at the same time. In an instant, a terrifying explosion occurred in the crowd. One by one, flesh bombs exploded in the enemy's ranks without warning. What kind of spear technique is this? How do we defend against it? Some people watched their companions explode and die, their eyes full of horror. How can the Earth Fiend Xianming spear be so terrifying? This guy's attacks sometimes attack the front row, sometimes attack the back. It's too terrifying. Tens of thousands of people besieged Lu Chen, but at this time, these people felt fear in their hearts at the same time. The Earth Fiend Xianming spear was too strange, and Lu Chen was too ruthless, leaving no survivors. The heavy rain could not wash away the blood on the ground. Lu Chen was like an insurmountable mountain, blocking in front of his family. He was like a killing machine, killing countless people under his spear. The Dongfang family could not show weakness and surrender. Even if they were afraid, they could only rush toward Lu Chen wave after wave. Then the killing would not stop. Lu Chen's eyes were blood-red, and his gaze seemed to pierce through time, returning to that rainy night. Third brother, your life is more precious than mine. You have a 9-star chaos spiritual vein. I am at most an immortal venerable, but you have endless possibilities. So, I want to ask you for a favor. Cultivate well, no matter how hard or tiring it is, don't give up. Until one day, when you are strong enough, help grandfather, father, mother. Help the Lu family. Take revenge. Lu Chen's eyes were wet, and it was unknown whether it was tears or rain on his face. He pierced a person's chest with his spear and roared, "Brother Lu Chen will avenge you today." Chapter 1365. Blood stained the spear. Lu Chen was like a killing Buddha, cleansing the evil with the blood of the evil. Below Spirit King, no one can defeat him. An elder stood up. Another person said, "We can't let him go on like this. Many inner disciples have already died." In an instant, dozens of elders and guards jumped down from the stands and rushed towards Lu Chen. Everyone below the Spirit King stage stepped back. An elder shouted. A group of elders had already surrounded Lu Chen. Just as the others thought they had escaped, Lu Chen suddenly attacked with his spear. I said, "All of you must die." Earth Fiend Xianming Spear. Boundless Earth Fiend Spear Intent. Lu Chen swung the blood remnant spear in his hand and directly blasted the ground. A thunderous sound echoed through the world. The black basalt ground cracked, and more than half of the martial arts arena was destroyed. The surrounding thousands of people shook violently. At the same time, from the cracks in the ground, a large amount of black fog spewed out. Countless spear chi shot up into the sky. Earth Fiend Spear Intent? It's the 7th level. How is it possible? He has mastered the 7th level of the Earth Fiend Xianming Spear Intent. Watch your feet, he uses the earth veins as a medium. A Spirit King shouted and then jumped up high, a golden air shield appearing under his feet. However, not everyone had the ability to do so. Endless spear chi spewed out. These cultivators had no way to dodge or block. In the blink of an eye, thousands of people's bodies exploded. In an instant, the Dongfang family's martial arts arena was filled with a bloody mist. Dongfang Bai's eyes were wide open. He looked at Lu Chen in horror, the one he called trash. 8 years, how is it possible? How can someone's strength rise to such a terrifying level in 8 years? The 7th level of the Earth Fiend Xianming Spear Intent. Even spirit gods and heavenly spirits couldn't master it. He mastered it in 8 years? This is impossible. 10,000 people surrounded one person, but at this time, the Dongfang family's martial arts arena was filled with corpses. These broken limbs all belonged to the Dongfang family. Atai also looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. Chener's progress is too terrifying. Since ancient times, I have never heard of anyone reaching such a terrifying level in such a short time. Yuaqin's eyes were filled with tears. Chen must have put in an unimaginable amount of effort to achieve what he has today. Wanner could not help but scream, "Brother, avenge the Lu family." Lu Chen was unable to answer Lu Wanner. He leaped high into the air and pierced through the skull of an elder with his spear. This person was a Spirit King. However, in the hands of Lu Chen, he did not even have the chance to use a single move before he was killed on the spot by Lu Chen. Kill the Lu family. Someone tried to approach Lu Chen's family, but just as he finished speaking, a spear shot from afar and pierced his throat. Then, a figure as fast as lightning pulled out a long spear. Blood immediately gushed out from that man's neck like a fountain, and he couldn't speak. Lu Chen snorted coldly. "I'm here. You want to touch my family? Dream on." After saying that, he finished off this person with a single spear. Dongfang Bai looked at the bloody man in the crowd and could not help but take a few steps back. This person was too terrifying. Tens of thousands of people besieged him, but they were unable to break through his defensive line. In front of him, broken limbs were piled up like a mountain, but that guy was still unharmed. This guy, could it be that he has already cultivated to the heavenly spirit realm? Even now Dongfang Qinglong could no longer sit still. He slowly stood up, his gaze fixed on the figure who was crazily slaughtering people in the field. Great Elder, take my family's seal and awaken the clan's divine beast. Dongfang Qinglong whispered to an elder behind him. The elder's face revealed a pleased expression. Patriarch, do you really want to awaken that guy? After all, the Azure Dragon has been asleep for thousands of years. Dongfang Qinglong said. This person's strength should be around the divine spirit realm. And from his fighting skills, I really can't imagine how an 18-year-old child could be so calm. More than 20 minutes, without a single mistake. Even a general who has been on the battlefield for a long time can't do this. The great elder frowned. Indeed, no matter how angry he is, his positioning, the use of martial arts, and the transition between attack and defense are impeccable. This person must have been baptized by countless battles of life and death. Dongfang Qinglong nodded. Because of this, we must summon the clan's divine beast. Yes, Patriarch, I will go now. After saying that, the great elder took Dongfang Qinglong's family seal and hurried away. The battle in the field was still ongoing. Lu Chen, I don't believe that you will never get tired. An elder used his spiritual shield to block Lu Chen's spear intent. However, he was fine, but the clansmen behind him were killed one after another. The cloud-piercing spear was a martial art that could hit a cow through a mountain. He could protect himself, but he could not protect his clansmen. But if he had protected his clansmen, he would have died under the spear at this moment. Earth Fiend Xianming's spear, pneumatic skill. It was this move again. Within a range of 500 meters, the spear intent could be controlled by the heart. Wherever the intent pointed, the spear moved, killing people without leaving a trace. Thousands of Dongfang clansmen were slaughtered in an instant. Inner clan disciples retreat. Many clansmen plan to take advantage of the chaos to retreat. 9 void steps. Lu Chen used 9 void steps and flashed in front of this group of people. What kind of movement technique is this? Why is it so fast? I can't track him at all. The inner clan disciples were fleeing with their heads down. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning. In that instant, they seemed to not see a person, but a demon bathed in blood standing in front of them with a spear. 100 miles Dark Crow. In just an instant, after Lu Chen killed thousands of people, he quickly used 9 void steps again to block in front of his clansmen. More than 2 hours later, the training field was covered with corpses and the ground was dyed red. The Dongfang clan had more than 10,000 people, but now there were less than 1,000 people alive. And these 1,000 people were tightly in a tortoiseshell formation, defending with all their might. Dongfang Bai was actually still alive, but he had a very bad feeling in his heart at this moment. Perhaps it was not that he was too strong, but Lu Chen did not plan to kill him at all. To be more precise, he did not plan to kill him now. An elder in the front row looked at the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood around him. His eyes were wide open as he wailed in grief. Tens of thousands of our Dongfang clan disciples were killed by one person today. Is this real? Even if they were at the scene, such an outcome was unimaginable. Lu Chen looked coldly at these survivors, his blood-red eyes narrowed slightly. When you slaughtered more than 700 people of my Lu clan, did you ever think that you would end up like this? You, what kind of monster are you? How did you become so terrifying in just 8 short years? This question lingered in everyone's hearts. Even Lu Chen's mother, Uncle Tai, and Waner could not believe it. Was the person standing in front of them really Lu Chen? Lu Chen held the spear in his hand and approached the opponent's defensive formation step by step. With every step he took, the opponent took a step back. What? You still don't understand? Aren't you the heavens of Tianwu Kingdom? Unfortunately, you just had to provoke me. Even if you are the heavens, I will pierce through them. Chapter 1366. All of you, give me your lives. Lu Chen bellowed. With the 9 void steps, he had already rushed into the enemy formation. 3rd Elder, 4th Elder. The other spirit emperors and spirit kings are here. A white-bearded old man suddenly appeared in front of Lu Chen. Immediately after, 2 people flashed out from the defensive formation. These 3 people were obviously stronger than the others. Their speed was extremely fast, far surpassing the spirit kings and spirit emperors that Lu Qin had encountered before. Even stronger than spirit emperors were immortal-grade powerhouses. They were the top powerhouses in the entire Tianyuan continent. One of them used a saber, while the other two used swords. Suddenly, they attacked Lu Qin at the same time. Ternary Spirit Saber. Traceless Piercing Sun. Sword Intent. You killed tens of thousands of my people. Lu Qin, give me your life. The three of them suddenly attacked. Moreover, they used their ultimate skills. It was obvious that they had been preparing for a long time, intending to kill Lu Qin in one move. Uncle Tai exclaimed, "Qin'er, be careful." However, Lu Qin only snorted coldly. Hiding in the crowd means that I can't see that your strength is not ordinary. Unfortunately, immortal-grade powerhouses are not enough to kill me. Earth Fiend Xianming Spear, Netherworld Spear Intent. Lu Qin was actually prepared. Facing the three people's siege, he directly attacked with his spear. The remnant blood spear transformed into a huge blood-colored spear, colliding with the three immortal-grade powerhouses' killing moves. With a loud bang, several chi rings surged in the field. Even the immortal emperors were sent flying by the huge aftershock. In the blink of an eye, the three figures were sent flying like cannonballs. However, a black figure did not retreat. Instead, he advanced. With the 9 void steps, he had already caught up with one of them. With one spear, he directly pierced through the heart and smashed it into the ground. The other 2 immortal-grade powerhouses were sent flying hundreds of meters away. Only then did they spit out blood. The 2 of them looked at Lu Qin in shock. Impossible, you are? Divine Spirit Realm. An 18-year-old Divine Spirit Realm. This is simply unheard of. Lu Qin stepped on the corpse and pulled out the spear. Then he coldly looked at the 2 immortal-grade powerhouses. Unheard of? Then have you heard of it now? You killed tens of thousands of people. Won't your spiritual energy be depleted? A 9-star chaos spiritual vein is so overbearing. Lu Qin coldly snorted. Do you regret not catching me back then so that you could snatch my spirit vein? Speaking of which, your patriarch is really interesting. He's watching his clansmen die miserably, yet he's still able to keep his composure? 9 void steps. Stepping on the void, Lu Qin instantly arrived in front of the 2 elders. Immortal. In the Tianyuan continent, you're a man above all, but in front of me, Lu Qin, you're nothing but an ant. Die. With 2 shots, Lu Qin had killed 2 more people. This time, the others were so shocked that their brains short-circuited. Lu Qin, a youth who had only cultivated for 8 years, was able to fight one against 3 celestial-grade experts and directly kill them. In front of Lu Qin, these spirit kings and spirit emperors were like dogs, unable to withstand a single blow. Sure enough, Lu Qin didn't have any intention of stopping and killed his way into the enemy's ranks. At this time, Lu Qin was like a tiger entering a sheep's den. In the midst of the sword's light, before the spear arrived, people had already forgotten. The remaining 1,000 or so elites of the Dongfang family were simply unable to stop Lu Qin's massacre. Wails rang out again and again as blood splattered on the spot. Dongfang Bai discovered one thing. As long as he was there, he would be safe. Lu Qin would never come to kill him. However, at this time, seeing Lu Qin's cruel means, he didn't have the slightest room to be happy. The clansmen around him died miserably one by one, but he was still alive. However, Dongfang Bai clearly felt that Lu Qin's gaze was like a demon, gloating at a soul that was about to die tragically. It was incomparably cruel. Another hour passed, and the only person still alive on the field was Dongfang Bai. Lu Qin suddenly pulled out a long spear from a corpse and didn't continue to pursue. Instead, he leisurely looked at Dongfang Bai, whose face was full of horror. Dongfang Bai, have you ever thought that one day, you would rather die than live? Lu Qin looked at Dongfang Bai with a smile that wasn't a smile. Lu Qin, you homicidal maniac. Your hands are stained with more than 70,000 lives. You said that my Dongfang family deserved to die for destroying your Lu family. Don't you deserve to die for killing so many Dongfang family members? Lu Qin sneered. What a joke. Before, you said that those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will perish. Now you're talking to me about benevolence and morality? Dongfang Bai, don't you think it's funny? Now your patriarch is still watching the show. That's fine, I'll have time to settle the score between the two of us. Lu Chen's smile instantly disappeared, and his blood-red eyes stared at Dongfang Bai. You killed my father. You killed my grandfather. Dongfang Bai, even if you die 10,000 times, it won't be enough to atone for your sins. In that case, I'll let you live a life worse than death. Dongfang Bai saw Lu Chen's gaze, and his heart shuddered. He hurriedly looked at the patriarch. Patriarch. At this time, Dongfang Qinglong finally stood up slowly. In an instant he had already arrived in front of Dongfang Bai. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. This guy's strength was indeed far above the three immortals. Dongfang Qinglong looked at the broken limbs around him. So many people died. Suddenly he sneered. These wastes are really useless. Patriarch, you. Dongfang Bai looked at the patriarch in shock. If he didn't hear it with his own ears, it would be hard to believe that this sentence came from Dongfang Qinglong's mouth. Dongfang Qinglong shouted angrily, "Shut up! If it weren't for your incompetence in capturing this person earlier, my Dongfang family wouldn't have suffered so much damage." Dongfang Bai hurriedly shut up. Dongfang Qinglong looked at Lu Chen again, but there was a trace of a smile in his eyes. Lu Chen, I admit that your strength has exceeded all of our expectations. I do feel that it's a pity that you killed so many people, but after thinking about it, I feel that it may not be a bad thing. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Could it be that Dongfang Qinglong has gone crazy? Dongfang Qinglong seemed to have seen through Lu Chen's doubts and continued. You may not know, but the Dongfang family actually has a secret technique that can plunder a person's spiritual vein. Such terrifying strength at the age of 18. And this is under the condition that you don't have any resources to cultivate. It shows how exaggerated your 9-star chaos spiritual vein is. As long as I can integrate with your spiritual vein, ha 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 ha, not to mention the Dongfang family, I will be the Tianyuan continent's god. I want to unify the world and be the king of all ages. What Dongfang family, compared to my great ambition, is not worth mentioning at all. Lu Chen coldly looked at Dongfang Qinglong. This guy is really crazy. Lu Chen, your strength should be in the divine spirit realm, and you have actually mastered the Earth Fiend Profound Nether Spear. I have to admit that I don't have absolute confidence in winning. But you have been fighting to the death, and your stamina has been exhausted. I have at least an 80% chance of winning now. Lu Chen coldly looked at Dongfang Qinglong. I'm afraid you don't know that I only need 10% of my stamina to kill you. Dongfang Qinglong pretended to be enlightened. Oh right, if I'm not wrong, you have mastered the 7th and 8th stages of the Earth Fiend Profound Nether Spear, so you should be close to mastering the last stage. So you still have a trump card. Lu Chen frowned slightly. This guy actually thought that he had mastered the Earth Fiend Profound Sky Spear. But he was still so relaxed. It seemed like he had the capital to be confident. While they were talking, Lu Chen felt the ground begin to shake. Then the sky was covered with dark clouds, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The rain stopped at this moment. In the sky, there were faint black shadows rolling. Dongfang Qinglong smiled faintly. Sorry, you have a trump card, but so do I. Now my trump card is here, and your life is mine. Chapter 1367. In the clouds, the figure of a giant dragon was faintly discernible. The giant dragon's body shuttled through the clouds. One could roughly guess that its body was more than 100 meters long. Atai opened his eyes wide. Oh my god, this is the divine beast of the Dongfang family? This is something that can be defeated by a human? Dongfang Qinglong glanced at the giant dragon in the sky. The smile on his face widened. Lu Chen, it's time for you to die. Lu Chen shook his head. This is the divine beast of the Dongfang family? To be honest, I'm quite disappointed. Speaking of which, if Ten-Winged could come out, the divine beast of the Dongfang family would be much smaller than Ten-Winged. Ha 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 ha, Lu Chen, you're still so stubborn. The divine beast of the Dongfang family was born in the divine spirit realm. It's more than enough to kill you. Dragon God, please lend me a helping hand. After saying that, Dongfang Qinglong's body exploded with a burst of astonishing spiritual energy, instantly causing the surrounding wind to become even more violent. Lu Chen, the power of my Dongfang family is beyond your imagination. Dongfang Qinglong drew out a purple longsword from its sheath. It's the crepe myrtle starlight sword. Tai recognized the longsword at a glance. One of the 3 divine weapons of the Tianwu continent, the crepe myrtle starlight sword. Dongfang Qinglong sneered. You've been arrogant for a long time. Now it's time for you to die. Dragon God. Dongfang Qinglong shouted angrily. The giant dragon in the sky descended from the sky, its huge dragon claws grabbing at Lu Chun. At the same time, Dongfang Qinglong moved extremely fast and stabbed his sword at Lu Chun. 9 Extreme Sword Art, Falling Star Sword Ray. Lu Chen's eyes widened in anger as he circulated the spiritual energy in his body. Earth Fiend Dark Spear, Sky Fiend Earth Fiend. The 3 peerless moves collided with a loud bang, and a chi ring instantly exploded in the field. The thick iron pillar that stood in the middle of the great formation, and had a diameter of nearly 10 meters, was directly split in half by the air ring. A loud sound shook the heaven and earth. Countless people in the Heaven Marshal City heard the loud sound just now. The entire Heaven Marshal City felt a wave of tremor. The commoners still thought that there was an enemy formation, but the real experts all looked towards the eastern sky at the same time. The dragon roared just now. Could it be the divine beast of the Dongfang family? What's going on? The Dongfang family actually awakened their clan's guardian divine beast. Moreover, the sound from before seemed to be an intense battle. It can't be that someone is fighting with the clan's guardian divine beast, right? That person has to be at least a god-level super expert. What a strong smell of blood. Something must have happened to the Dongfang family. In the imperial city, a valiant man in a golden dragon robe was standing in the pavilion of the Black Tortoise Hall, looking at the eastern sky. My lord, the Eastern Azure Dragon has summoned his clan's mythical beast. Right now he is teaming up with the mythical beast to fight a decisive battle with Lu Chun, reported a follower. This attendant was slightly different from the people around him. It seemed that he had traveled a long way and was slightly tired, as if he had just returned to the imperial city. The man narrowed his eyes slightly. An 18-year-old youth massacred more than 70,000 people from the Dongfang family. Among them, several hundred spirit kings and spirit emperors died tragically. Have you investigated his spirit vein? Monarch, I've already investigated it. It's a 9-star chaos spiritual vein. What? 9-star chaos spiritual vein. Are you sure? The man turned around abruptly, his face full of shock. My lord, I've already investigated it. It's indeed a 9-star chaos spiritual vein. 8 years ago, the Dongfang family massacred a small family in the West Oblast city. The Lu family, not because they betrayed the country, but because they wanted to snatch Lu Chen's spirit vein. The man's frown deepened. A 9-star chaos spiritual vein is hard to come by in 1,000 years. However, even if the spirit vein is outstanding, it's still hard for me to understand how his strength could increase so much in just 8 years. The follower asked, My lord, should we intervene now? The monarch's brows were tightly knitted together. After pondering for a long time, he said, These years, the Eastern Azure Dragon's ambition has grown bigger and bigger. If he gets the 9-star chaos spiritual vein, I'm afraid he won't be content with his lot. But that Lu Chen's growth is too terrifying. I'm afraid that in a few years he will be out of our control. Official Xiang, immediately bring 500,000 city guards to the Dongfang family and surround those 2 people. I'll go ask the consecrator to come out and meet you outside the imperial city. We'll go together. My lord, you won't make a move, right? Let's wait and see. Quick, gather the troops. In the Dongfang family's martial arts field, the giant dragon was forced back. Dongfang Azure Dragon was also forced back several hundred meters before he could stop himself. On the other side, Lu Chen's figure directly flew out and hit the half of the iron pillar, causing the iron pillar to cave in. The huge impact made Lu Chen spit out several mouthfuls of blood. The blood-ruined spear in his hand was actually broken and deformed. Tung, Qin Yuaqin and Uncle Tai immediately rushed over. Mother! Uncle Tai! Lu Chen's voice was weak, but before he could speak, he spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood and fainted. Dongfang Azure Dragon stopped himself and looked at Lu Chen's situation. He immediately felt relieved. Lu Chen, I didn't expect that. I still underestimated you. Even this can't kill you. However, you've already overdrawn your strength from the fierce battles. Now you're an arrow at the end of its flight. You're powerless to reverse the situation. I didn't expect the power of the profound sky-earth termination to be so terrifying. Luckily, I didn't attack earlier. Otherwise, I might not have been able to defeat you. Wan'er's face was already covered in tears. She raised her injured arm with difficulty and touched Lu Chen's face with heartache. Brother, it's all Wan'er's fault for being useless. I couldn't help you at all. Brother, don't die, don't die. Dongfang Azure Dragon walked over leisurely and raised the long sword in his hand. If he didn't attack now, he really wasn't sure if Lu Chen, who didn't care about his life, would suddenly wake up. Lu Chen, your spirit vein is mine. Your life is also mine. Tai Shuqin turned around and charged at Dongfang Azure Dragon. Get lost. Dongfang Azure Dragon kicked Tai, who had already lost his ability to fight, dozens of meters away. He spat out blood and couldn't move. Qin Yueqin couldn't wake Lu Chen up no matter what. Seeing that Dongfang Azure Dragon was about to come over, she pounced on him. I'll kill you. Bitch, get lost. Dongfang Azure Dragon slapped Qin Yueqin away. In Dongfang Azure Dragon's eyes, there was only Lu Chen. He had to cripple Lu Chen first, so that he wouldn't have any hope of turning the tables. At this moment, Wan'er struggled to stand up. She opened her arms and stood in front of Lu Chen. This time Dongfang Azure Dragon finally stopped. He found it funny. The Lu family is really interesting. One after another, they come to die? You were crying for your parents just now. Now that you don't want your life anymore, you still want to protect your brother? You should know that you'll die if my sword slashes down. Dongfang Azure Dragon's eyes flashed with cruelty and mockery. Wan'er's face showed no fear. Her eyes were filled with determination. She ignored Dongfang Azure Dragon and said softly, Brother, you've always been protecting Wan. Today, I'll protect you. Wan'er can't do anything. Even if it's just once, let Wan'er protect you. Chapter 1368. Mom told me to protect Big Brother. Little Lu Yi stood in front of Lu Chen. At that moment, Lu Chen knew what was the most precious thing to him in this world. Even if he had to risk his life, he would protect his sister. Even if Wan'er can't do anything, even if it's just once, let Wan'er protect you. Lu Wan'er, who was less than 10 years old, was covered in wounds, but she stood in front of Lu Chen without hesitation. Even if this was the ancient realm, this was still a real world. He was protecting his family, and she was also doing her best to protect him. In his mind, the images of Lu Yi and Lu Wan'er actually overlapped. At some point, a large number of guards had surrounded the martial arts field. Dongfang Bai noticed and frowned slightly. City guards. Shengguan Hong, that old fox, wants to benefit from the fight? Sorry, you won't have the chance. The city guards had arrived, but when they arrived, they saw that Lu Chen was already dead, and the battle was over. My lord, what should we do now? Xiang Wu asked. Shengguan Hong narrowed his eyes slightly. He was really a step too late. The Dongfang family's divine beast was really here. As long as they made trouble, Dongfang Qinglong could easily escape on the divine beast. At that time, they would have nothing to gain, but instead made a big enemy. An old man beside Shengguan Hong looked at the field indifferently. The Dongfang family's divine beast is stronger than before. I'm afraid it may have broken through to the heavenly spirit rank. Don't act rashly. Shengguan Hong thought for a moment and said, Since Master Tianheng said so, then don't make a move. I'll explain it to Dongfang Qinglong personally. With such a big commotion in the Dongfang family, it was reasonable for him to come over to check. It was not worthwhile to fall out now. Dongfang Qinglong also knew that this matter could not be delayed. He looked coldly at Lu Wan. Fine, I have the chaos spirit vein anyway. I don't care about your 3 spirit veins. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Dongfang Qinglong raised the purple star in his hand and stabbed at Lu Wan'er. The sword turned into a cold light and stabbed at Lu Wan'er's throat. Lu Wan'er did not move an inch and blocked in front of Lu Chen. If death was a kind of release, then some people were destined to be unable to be released easily. He couldn't die. Even if he was in the depths of the 18 levels of hell, he would still climb up. It was all for the sake of protecting the mortal bond that had been abandoned by the immortals. Just as the long sword was about to stab Luwana, a burst of terrifying spiritual energy suddenly erupted from behind Luwana. Eastern Azure Dragon. Die for me. An earth-shattering roar resounded. Lu Chen had no gun in his hand. 10th level of the Earth Fiend Profound Nether Spear. Heaven and earth as a spear. However, there was no spear in his hand, and heaven and earth were his spear. Above the Jutian, in the vast starry sky, a beam of white light descended from the sky. Like a laser or a spear, it pierced through the head of the Azure Dragon of the East with lightning speed. However, that was only the sharpest tip of the spear. Immediately after, the beam of light poured down and pierced Azure Dragon's body into a pool of blood. Then it pierced through the ground. In front of Luwana, there was a huge, deep pit about 3 to 4 meters in diameter. However, it was bottomless and pitch black, as if it led straight to hell. This scene came too suddenly. Before anyone could react, the head of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Azure Dragon, and the Crepe Myrtle Starlight Sword, one of the 3 divine artifacts of Tianwu, were already dead. The hundreds of thousands of city guards were shocked speechless by this scene. Sheng Guanhong's eyes almost fell out of their sockets. Master Tianheng, what Lu Chen used just now, used the 10th level of the Earth Fiend Xianming Spear? Sheng Guanhong felt that his worldview had been shattered along with Eastern Azure Dragons. No one could master the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels of the Earth Fiend Xianming Spear. But this kid took out the 10th level directly? Speaking of which, there was a 10th level of the Earth Fiend Xianming Spear? He had never even heard of it. Master Tianheng was no longer as calm as before. He was also stunned by the scene just now. The 10th level. I remember now. I tried to study the Earth Fiend Xianming Spear back then. There was a sentence on the last page of the technique that might be related to the 10th level. What sentence? The spear can be an ordinary weapon or a divine artifact. The intent can be the spear aura. Moving at will can be the way of the spear. And the spear can break the sky. This Lu Chen has already reached the great achievement of spear intent. The spear of heaven and earth just now is the way of the spear. After Sheng Guanhong heard this, he slowly turned his head and looked at Lu Chen with an even more incredulous gaze. 18 years old, great achievement of spear intent. This was unprecedented. Luwana was ready to accept death, but suddenly, Dongfang Azure Dragon died first. She looked back in shock and saw Lu Chen standing behind her. Finally, she could not help crying and threw herself into Lu Chen's arms. Brother. Lu Chen gently stroked Luwana's head and said weakly, silly girl, don't mess around like this in the future. Wait brother, there's a small snake over there that needs me to deal with. Lu Chen pulled Luwana away and wiped away her tears. Take care of mother and Uncle Tai. Luwana nodded sensibly. Lu Chen was ready to fight to the death with the giant dragon. But who knew that after Dongfang Azure Dragon died, the giant dragon roared, glanced at Lu Chen, and actually flew away. Lu Chen blinked. Huh? Ran away? Perhaps it could not be said that it ran away, but it was some kind of contract that was broken after Dongfang Azure Dragon died. The more Lu Chen thought about it, the more he thought so. The strength of this giant dragon was terrifying. Lu Chen had most likely lost to this giant dragon. Such a terrifying creature should not have submitted to the Dongfang family. In any case, it was best not to fight. Anyway, Lu Chen did not have any deep hatred with this dragon. There was one person left on the field, who was trembling with fear at this time. Lu Chen flashed and appeared in front of Dongfang Bai. Dongfang Bai's legs went soft, and he knelt directly in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen Yu, what do you want to do? Lu Chen smiled slightly. With a move of his sword fingers, the tendons of Dongfang Bai's hands and feet were cut. Then Lu Chen lifted Dongfang Bai up, walked to the iron pillar that only had half of it left, and nailed him to the iron pillar with the iron nails on the ground. Don't you like to steal spiritual veins? Well, I'll also practice. Let's see how to dig out spiritual veins without killing people. After saying that, Lu Chen's eyes showed an incomparably cruel look. The fallen tools were scattered on the ground. Lu Chen picked up a saw. I'll dig while you teach me. Don't cut the wrong place and make you suffer in vain. Dongfangbai was so scared that his face was pale. How abnormal was this guy? Not only did he dig out his spiritual veins, he also wanted him to teach him. He was simply crazy. Qin Yueqin saw the scene here and had to cover Lu Wanner's eyes. Mother, I want to see. I want to see how Dongfangbai dies. Wanner, you'd better not watch. Digging out spiritual veins is an extremely cruel thing. Uncle Tai stumbled over. It's equivalent to pulling out tendons and digging out bones. The Dongfang family has done many such heartless things. As the saying goes, give someone a taste of their own medicine. Half an hour later, Dongfangbai had become a cripple. However, Lu Chen's technique was exquisite, and Dongfangbai was not dead yet. He looked at Lu Chen with his last breath. At this time, he had no hope of resisting. He slowly said, I can't believe that my Dongfang family was destroyed by the hands of a Lu family orphan. If I had known, I would have killed you at all costs. Lu Chen snorted coldly, unrepentant. After saying that, the blood-stained long thorn in his hand pierced directly into Dongfangbai's throat. Chapter 1369. Lu Chen turned around and walked towards his family. He picked up Lu Wanner and said, Uncle Tai, let's bring grandfather back for a proper burial. Tai was stunned. He looked at the guards surrounding the martial arts practice field and said, But there are so many city guards here. It's fine. Lu Chen said indifferently. He pulled his mother, carried Lu Wanner, Tai, and Duke Qin's corpse and walked towards the exit. Their speed was not fast. When they passed by the battlefield, Lu Chen saw the broken blood remnant spear. Mother, wait a moment. Lu Chen let go of his mother's hand and bent down to pick up the broken spear on the ground. He tied the two halves of the spear to his waist and continued on his way. When Lu Chen and his family arrived in front of the hundreds of thousands of city guards, Lu Chen stopped and looked coldly at the leader of the city guards. Lu Chen was now covered in blood. It was hard to tell if it was his or the enemy's blood. He looked extremely tired as he walked. His gait was light, a sign that he had exhausted his spiritual power. However, facing the hundreds of thousands of city guards of Tianwu Kingdom, Lu Chen did not show the slightest fear. He only shouted, Scram. Sheng Guanhong's expression was ugly. As the king of Tianwu Kingdom, no one dared to speak to him like this. However, facing Lu Chen's red eyes, Sheng Guanhong actually took half a step back. This was a demon who had killed more than 70,000 people. That spear of heaven and earth was even more shocking. Even with the nameless gods worshipping him, no one could stop Lu Chen if he wanted to kill him. Lu Chen, we mean no harm. Sheng Guanhong said. Lu Chen did not want to listen to his nonsense. He said coldly, I'll give you 3 seconds to get out of the way. Otherwise, these hundreds of thousands of city guards will be buried with you. Sheng Guanhong sucked in a breath of air. How arrogant was this person to dare to say such arrogant words? However, the scary thing was that no one doubted his words. Get out of the way. Sheng Guanhong shouted. The 500,000 city guards heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the monarch did not stop Lu Chen. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to escape from the devil's clutches. The army opened up a path as Lu Chen led his family out of Dongfang Manor. After Lu Chen and the others left, Sheng Guanhong suddenly realized that his forehead was already sweating, and his clothes were wet. For a split second, he wanted to stop Lu Chen and snatch his spirit vein, but he was already drenched in sweat. Grandmaster Tianheng, if we had made a move earlier, would we have been able to kill him? The old man at the side pondered for a long time before finally saying, We have a 70% chance of winning. But, Hong, you've made the right decision. If you really attack, you'll definitely die. Another consecrated nodded and said, The spear of heaven and earth contains the great Tao of the spear. It is the pinnacle of spear intent. I'm afraid we won't be able to block it. If he insists on killing you, among the 500,000 people, he'll still take your life. Sheng Guanhong took a deep breath. No one understood the feeling better than him. Just a glance from Lu Chen made him feel like he was on the verge of death. This person will probably cover the sky with one hand in the future. Sheng Guanhong sighed. Xiang Wu, check his whereabouts. I'll personally meet him later, and see if he's willing to become a consecrator of the Tianwu kingdom. Yes, monarch. That day the Dongfang family, one of the three great families of the Tianwu kingdom, was exterminated. This news quickly spread throughout the Tianyuan continent. For a moment, the whole world was shocked. Countless people did not dare to believe that this was true. An 18-year-old youth exterminating the Dongfang family alone? This news is too fake. How can it be fake? The Tianwu kingdom is already in chaos. An 18-year-old divine spirit realm expert? What kind of joke is this? He's only been cultivating for a few years. Even if he's a genius, it's already amazing if he can reach the spirit king realm. How can he reach the divine spirit realm? That Lu Chen is not only a divine spirit realm expert, but also a very high star. It's said that Dongfang Qinglong and the Dongfang family's guardian divine beast joined hands, but still failed to kill him. Lu Chen even killed Dongfang Qinglong in one move. 2 days later, the news reached the Heaven Saint City. At this time, the Heaven Saint Nation's national sword competition was coming to an end. In the newcomer competition, no one knew if it was the arrangement of the Meng family or the Li family, but Meng Shi met Li Haobai in the end. After all, there was a big gap between the two of them. Although Meng Shi fought back tenaciously, Li Haobai won easily. In the end, Li Haobai became the strongest newcomer of the Heaven Saint Nation. On the other hand, the competition of the strongest that people paid more attention to was also coming to an end. The remaining 4 super experts were all divine spirit realm experts. 2 days later, 2 of the top 4 would be decided. 5 days later, the Heaven Saint Nation's strongest would be decided. Bai Xing waited for more than a month, but she still didn't see Lu Chen return. Instead, she heard the news of the Dongfang family being massacred. In the inn, Bai Xing asked Yan Zhu in shock. Zhuzi, is what you said true? The Dongfang family was destroyed? What about Xiaochen? What about Xiaochen's family? Yan Zhu was also very excited. He was panting heavily. It seemed like he had rushed back to the inn to report the news. Principal, they all said so. Even the divine spirit realm experts said so. This kind of thing can't be groundless. It can't be wrong. I went to ask one of the divine spirit realm experts who stayed in the inn. He said he got the news that not only did Master destroy the Dongfang family, the Heaven Martial Kingdom's emperor, Shang Guanhong, personally led 500,000 Heaven Martial Kingdom's city guards to surround the Dongfang family. However, Master actually ordered the Heaven Martial Kingdom's city guards to give way and take his family away. Ah! Bai Xing's eyes widened. The Heaven Martial Kingdom's emperor has always been ambitious. He can order an uncontrollable super expert to leave? Yes, many people thought that at that time, Shang Guanhong would either subdue Master or kill him. However, Master was heavily injured, so he left. Bai Xing frowned. She couldn't figure it out no matter how much she thought about it. What did Lu Chen say in the end? Yan Zhu felt his blood boiling as he thought about it. He was full of energy as he shouted, "Scram!" Bai Xing was stunned for a moment before she raged. How can you talk to your principal like that? Yan Zhu hurriedly said. A principal, I didn't ask you to scram. What I said was that Master said scram, and the Heaven Martial Kingdom's city guards gave way. Ah! Bai Xing suddenly felt that her thoughts couldn't keep up. The city guards were all elite troops. This time, the Emperor Shang Guanhong personally led them. In the end, Lu Chen said scram, and the 500,000 city guards gave way? Yan Zhu was especially excited as he paced back and forth in the room. Isn't Master too domineering? He annihilated the Dongfang family. The Heaven Martial Kingdom's emperor, so many consecrators, and 500,000 city guards, he didn't even care about them. How domineering is he? I really regret not following him to take a look. I really regret it. Principal, there's one more thing. The news of Master signing up for the national sword competition has been released. Now everyone is saying that without Lu Chen's participation in the national sword competition, even the strongest would be an undeserved reputation. Yan Zhu looked out of the window with gratification. He took a deep breath and said emotionally, yes, to be able to become Master's disciple, I, Yan Zhu, have not lived in vain. The strongest disciple in the world. I, Yan Zhu, am indeed incomparably valiant. Chapter 1370. The Meng residence was decorated with lanterns and streamers. Meng Shi and Li Haobai's wedding would be held today. Meng Shi was dressed in red, sitting alone in her room. She had just heard the rumor that the Dongfang family had been massacred by Lu Qin alone. Meng Shi's eyes were full of surprise. It's him, it's really him. Brother Lu Qin really got his revenge. One person slaughtered more than 70,000 people from the Dongfang family, and forced back an army of 500,000. How tyrannical was this? Unfortunately, she didn't see it with her own eyes. At this time, the door was pushed open and a middle-aged man walked in. Seeing this person, Meng Shi immediately put away the smile on her face and looked away with a straight face. Shi Li Haobai will soon come to pick up the bride you. I know. Meng Shi said coldly. Sure, I know about Lu Chen's matter. Do you regret it? The man looked at his daughter worriedly. Sai, you're still too young. There are some things I have to say to you clearly. The man sighed and sat on the bed. Meng Shi didn't expect her strong father to suddenly become like this, and couldn't help but feel a little distressed. If you regret it and leave with Lu Chen, I won't stop you. However, the Li family will definitely put the blame on our Meng family. Our two families have a marriage contract. How can the Li family let go of the hatred of stealing their wife? And if Lu Chen comes back and finds out that you didn't marry Li Haobai willingly, I'm afraid that Lu Chen won't let our Meng family go. Although Lu Chen is taking revenge and there's no problem with morality, it's said that the Dongfang family's martial arts practice field is full of corpses. It's a tragic sight. It can be seen that he's also a ruthless person. Now that things have reached this point, what do you think our Meng family should do to protect ourselves? Meng Shi was stunned. Her father's words weren't without reason. When the news of brother Lu Chen came, the Meng family was the first to be in a dilemma. Father Meng said earnestly, Shi Li Hao is actually not bad. He just has a strong sense of self-esteem. When I decided on your marriage, I thought about it over and over again. I'm just afraid that you won't be happy in the future. I've loved you since you were young. Even when you ran away from home, I only had people secretly protect you. I also let you do whatever you want. I know that you don't have any feelings for Li Haobai, but that's because you haven't had any contact with him. You also saw this time. Although he was angry in your battle, he didn't use a heavy hand. That child's talent is outstanding, his conduct is upright, and he has a dignified appearance. If the person you met wasn't Lu Chen, but Li Haobai, you might have liked him. Sure, your marriage isn't just about you. The fate of the Meng family is in your hands. Right now, the only way is to tell Lu Chen that you're willing to marry Li Haobai. That way, Lu Chen will give up, and the Li family's Meng family will be able to become stronger in the future. Are you willing to watch your mother, grandmother, and brothers and sisters live in a precarious state, and be on edge all day long? Father Meng said a lot, and every word was reasonable. Meng Shi didn't want to listen, but she had to listen. Father, don't say any more. Shi, a person like Lu Chen will definitely shake the world in the future. That kind of man is charming, but if you really marry him, you won't necessarily be happy. Li Haobai endured for many years and worked hard for you. But what about Lu Chen? What did he do for you? Believe me, finding someone who loves you is more important than finding someone you love. For the sake of the Meng family's 1,000 years of foundation, I'm begging you. Father, don't say any more. Meng Shi was heartbroken, but she couldn't refuse her father's request. I understand. Lu Chen and his family buried Qin Gong behind his old house, next to his grandmother. Mother, don't be sad. Lu Chen supported his mother. It's all in the past. Yueqin nodded and wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Father, I'm unfilial. Not only did I fail to take care of you, but I also implicated you. Fortunately, Chener is promising. He avenged the Lu family and you. After paying respects to Qin Gong, everyone returned to Qin Gong's old residence. Atai asked, Madam, what should we do in the future? Yueqin looked at Lu Chen. Chener, do you have any plans? Lu Chen said, Previously, the Emperor of the Heavenly Holy Empire sent people to spy on us. After I caught them, they said they wanted me to be a consecrator of the Heavenly Holy Empire. They said that I don't need to do anything. As long as I agree to be a consecrator of the Heavenly Holy Empire, they will give me a lot of money and treasures every year. Lu Chen continued. I'm guessing that their goal, to be precise, is to not let me help the other two countries. As for whether I do anything or not, it doesn't matter, as long as I don't become their enemy. I'm thinking that Wan will need a lot of resources for her cultivation in the future. This is not a bad choice. Yuqin nodded. You've already grown up. Mother believes that you can make your own decisions. Brother, will you teach me how to cultivate? Wan looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled and patted Lu Wan's head. Silly girl, as long as you want to learn, brother will teach you. But you can't be afraid of being tired. Wan is not afraid of being tired. In the future, I will protect mother and Uncle Tai. Tai suddenly laughed. Aya, Wan actually wants to protect me. Oh good. Now I'm not afraid of the Dongfang family. Uncle Tai, you're also a member of our family. Wan said. After so many things, Tai had indeed become a member of the Lu family. Lu Chen thought of something and said, but I have to make a trip to the Heavenly Holy Empire first. Guanhong has promised to protect your safety. You can stay here temporarily and wait for my return. Brother, you're going out again? What are you going to do? Wan was reluctant to part with Lu Chen. I'm going. Lu Chen smiled. To find you a sister-in-law. After settling his family, Lu Chen once again found Shang Guanhong, who was temporarily staying in West Prefecture City, and agreed to become a consecrator of the Heavenly Martial Kingdom. Once this matter was settled, his mother and the others would be the safest in the Heavenly Martial Kingdom. That day, Lu Chen rode the cloud-treading colt and rushed to the Heavenly Holy Empire. 20 days later, the National Sword Conference of the Heavenly Holy Empire had just ended. It was the time to give out the rewards for the #1 expert and the strongest newcomer. However, Lu Chen was not interested in this. If he did not make it in time for the competition, then so be it. The purpose of his trip was no longer to participate in the National Sword Conference. When he arrived at the Meng residence, Lu Chen found that the place was heavily guarded. There were at least a few hundred people patrolling around the Meng residence. When Lu Chen approached, someone immediately stopped Lu Chen. Stop, who are you? Lu Chen, I'm here to look for your young Miss Mingxi, Lu Chen said. Lu. When that person heard Lu Chen speak, he was so frightened that his whole body trembled. Then, the guards behind him all focused their attention. They looked at Lu Chen with shock and fear. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Why were these people so afraid of him? You are Lu Chen, the Lu Chen who massacred the Dongfang family of the Heavenly Martial Kingdom. From the other party's reaction, Lu Chen seemed to know something. You set up such a tight defense. Is it to guard against me? The Dongfang family destroyed my Lu family first. I'm just giving them a taste of their own medicine. Mengxi is my friend. I mean no harm. The other party's captain panted heavily. He gathered his courage and said, Young Miss is no longer here. She married into the Li family half a month ago. What? Lu Chen shouted in surprise. Lu Chen's reaction directly caused the surrounding guards to pull out their swords at the same time. Lu Chen, listen to me. Our young miss married into the Li family of her own accord. If you don't believe me, you can ask her yourself. Right now, she is at the Heavenly Martial Arts Arena, accompanying her husband to receive the reward for the strongest newcomer. After knowing Mingxi's whereabouts, Lu Chen did not say anything and left on his horse. Chapter 1371. Tens of thousands of people had witnessed the birth of the two strongest warriors of the Holy Empire. Shuizhang had defeated a divine spirit realm warrior and taken the title of the strongest warrior of the Holy Empire. Li Haobai had easily defeated a spiritual supreme realm warrior and became the strongest warrior under the age of 20 in the Holy Empire. There was no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. At this moment, only the two of them were receiving their awards. The king of the Holy Empire, Yan Zijuan, went up to the stage personally to give out the awards. Congratulations to Master Shuizhang for reaching the top of martial arts. Even the king of the Holy Empire, Yan Zijuan, had to be polite to Shuizhang. It's an honor to have Master Shuizhang in the Holy Empire. Shuizhong was originally the holy master of the Holy Empire. Yan Zijuan was very happy to see him take first place. Shuizhong nodded slightly. Zijuan, you don't have to be so polite with me. Go take a look at Li Haobai. The Li family has a kid with great potential. He's a spiritual king at the age of 19. He's much stronger than the previous ones. Thank you for your advice, Master Shuizhong. I have the same intention. Then Yan Zijuan walked in front of Li Haobai. Haobai, congratulations. Li Haobai's status was naturally not as high as Shuizhang's. He cupped his fists and bowed. Thank you, King Yan. Ha ha ha, Haobai, no need to be so polite. This is the badge for the strongest newcomer. You only get one every 10 years. I've already sent the other rewards to the Li family. As he spoke, Yan Zijuan put on the badge for Li Haobai. There are only a few people in the world who have this badge. Yan Zijuan smiled. Oh right. I heard that you just got married half a month ago. It's really a double blessing. But why didn't you tell me about such a happy event? Li Haobai was a little surprised. The king was not someone the Li family could invite. King Yan was obviously trying to be friendly. Since there are double blessings, why don't we add another one? Yan Zijuan said. Li Haobai looked at Yan Zijuan in confusion. Haobai is stupid. What is the happy event that King Yan is talking about? Yan Zijuan faintly smiled. I wonder if Haobai is willing to come to my Heaven Saint Consecrator Courtyard's Consecrator Courtyard's Consecrator Courtyard. Although the Consecrator Courtyard's 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 Consecrator Courtyard in the future. Li Haobai's eyes widened. Of course he knew about the Consecrated Courtyard's auxiliary courtyard. Simply put, it was the preparatory class for the Consecrated Courtyard. As long as one entered the Academy of Consecration, they would be able to receive a large amount of resources every year. It was the place that all geniuses wanted to enter the most. However, the first college usually only accepted spiritual grade experts. Only by reaching this grade would they have a greater chance of entering the divine spirit realm. After all, the Heavenly Saint Empire's investment was expected to be repaid. But this time, Yan Zijuan had directly sent out an invitation to Sengoku to join the affiliated college. Thank you for your kindness, Prince Yan. I'm willing. Li Haobai cupped his fists and said. Yan Zijuan smiled. Your wife Mengxi is also a rare talent. When the consecration hall opens classes, she can also attend with you. Li Haobai was even more shocked. There was no need to say more about Yan Zijuan's high regard. He had actually agreed to let him bring Mengxi to attend classes. This, King Yan. Li Haobai was excited. He thought for a while and said, Thank you, King Yan. I'll invite Mengxi up the stage to thank King Yan for your reward. Sure, I'll also meet your wife. Actually, if it wasn't for a monster like you, Mengxi would have a high chance of competing for the title of the strongest newcomer. Li Haobai quickly pulled Mengxi to the front of King Yan. The couple bowed and thanked King Yan for making an exception for the authorization. On the spectator stand, Yanzhu let out a long sigh. Sigh, master, you're still one step too late. Now Mengxi has already become someone else's wife. He had already passed Lu Chen's words to Mengxi. He still remembered that Mengxi was so excited that tears filled her eyes. Initially, Yanzhu was also happy for master. However, not long after, Mengxi still married into the Li family. Yan Zijuan turned around and shouted to everyone below the stage. Our Heavenly Saint Empire is full of talents. As long as they are talents, our Heavenly Saint Empire will not reject them. Everyone, let's cheer for Blood Trench and Li Haobai. Everyone stood up and applauded thunderously. Li Haobai held Mengxi's hand and looked at her affectionately. I will definitely become the happiest person. If it was any other girl, they would definitely be moved to tears at this moment. However, Mengxi was only slightly stunned and did not say anything. She turned to look at Bai Xing and Yanzhu on the spectator stand. When she saw the two of them, it was as if she saw that person. Brother Luchin, I'm sorry, Mengxi's eyes were a little blurry. Everything was already destined. She let out a long sigh and was about to retract her gaze. However, at this moment, She saw a man standing at the entrance of the arena. The moment she saw that person, Mengxi's heart started racing. Brother Lu Chen. The crowd cheered thunderously. Lu Chen stood alone at the entrance and looked at the person on the stage from afar. His eyes were wet. Li Haobai held Mengxi's hand, but Mengxi did not resist. This seemed to indicate a possibility. However, he still had to be clear about one thing. Lu Chen walked directly to the arena. At this moment, many people also saw this man who suddenly appeared. The strongest person in Heaven Holy Empire, the strongest newcomer, the monarch, and the two consecrators behind the monarch were all on the stage. How could someone barge in at this moment? Is that guy crazy? Who is it? Barging into the arena at this moment? Is he courting death? Yan Zijuan also saw Lu Chen. He frowned slightly and looked unhappy. Who dares to barge into the arena? Men, drag him out. 4 to 5 personal guards of the King of Yan walked towards Lu Chen aggressively. Suddenly, Lu Chen's figure flashed and appeared on the arena. He was standing right beside the crowd. Shui Zhang's eyes widened instantly. A person could actually appear beside the King of Yan so easily. Didn't this mean that if he had attacked Yan Zijuan just now, he would have had a chance? He hurriedly stood in front of Yan Zijuan and stared at Lu Chen. He said in a low voice, "What are you trying to do?" Men, surround the battle arena. A large group of the King of Yan's personal guards quickly surrounded the arena. They took out their weapons and were ready for battle. Lu Chen ignored Shuizhang and the guards. He only looked at Mengxi. Lu Chen's voice was a little hollow. Did Yanzhu pass on my words? Mengxi's tears flowed down immediately. She didn't dare to look into Lu Chen's eyes, but she wanted to look at Lu Chen a little longer. At this moment, Mengxi was extremely conflicted and in pain. Seeing this, Li Haobai hurriedly pulled Mengxi aside and stared at Lu Chen. What are you doing? Lu Chen glanced at Li Haobai and shouted angrily, Get out of the way. I'm talking to her. It's not your place to interrupt. Li Haobai narrowed his eyes slightly. If you dare to touch Mengxi, I'll kill you right now. You're not worthy. Lu Chen said coldly. Then he looked at Mengxi. Mengxi, I just want to know the answer. At this moment, Shuizhang shouted, Arrogant brat, don't you know where you are? How dare you cause trouble here? Do you think this is your backyard? With that, Shuizhang was about to attack. Mengxi suddenly cried out, Stop! Then, she broke free from Li Haobai's hand and walked out from behind Li Haobai. She stood in front of Lu Chen. She raised her head and looked at Lu Chen. Her tears flowed down uncontrollably. Brother Lu Chen. Upon hearing the two words Lu Chen, everyone was shocked. Chapter 1372. Lu Chen? He's Lu Chen? He single-handedly slaughtered Lu Chen of the Tianwu Dongfang family. Why is he here? I've heard of him. He was originally going to sign up for the competition, but I didn't expect him to come here from the Tianwu kingdom so quickly. Yan Zijuan panicked. Back then, Shang Guanhong led 500,000 city guards, but he didn't dare to touch Lu Chen when he was heavily injured. Now he only had a few thousand imperial guards. If Lu Chen wanted to kill him, wouldn't that be child's play? Shuizhang and the others hurriedly protected Yan Zijuan and retreated. In an instant, only Li Haobai, Mengxi, and Lu Chen were left on the field. Li Haobai's mind was buzzing. This guy was actually Lu Chen. What was his relationship with his wife? However, Li Haobai didn't run away. He stood beside Mengxi. Mengxi's eyes were filled with tears as she looked at Lu Chen. Yanzhu has already passed on the message. Lu Chen's heart ached. He had already passed on the message, but she still married someone else. Then, were you forced by your family? Mengxi's tears had already formed a river. After a long silence, she finally shook her head. No one forced me. I did it willingly. Lu Chen's heart felt like it had suffered a heavy blow. He couldn't help but take half a step back. No matter how strong the enemy was, they wouldn't be able to make him retreat. However, a woman's words could make Lu Chen suffer a heavy blow. You did it willingly. Yes, Li Haobai is very good to me. Lu Chen couldn't help but nod. He looked at Mengxi and then at Li Haobai. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. All right, I understand. As he spoke, Lu Chen took out the broken spear from his waist and threw it on the ground. He turned and flashed to the viewing platform. Lu Chen cupped his fists at the commoners. Principal, thank you for your care all these years. The cloud-treading colt is in the inn stable. I can't thank you enough for your kindness. In the future, if you need me for anything, just come to the Heavenly Martial Kingdom's West Prefecture City to find me. Little Chen. Bai Xing looked at Lu Chen with heartache. Anyone could see that Lu Chen was just suppressing the sadness in his heart. Dean Little Chen will bid farewell here. Yanzhu, let's go. After Lu Chen left with Yanzhu, the Imperial Guards heaved a sigh of relief. This fiend had finally left. But Mengshi felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. He had left. Not only did he leave the Heavenly Saint Empire, but he also left her life forever. Mengshi walked to the ruined blood spear and squatted down to pick up the broken spear. Big brother Lu Chen, don't just throw this gun away. Big brother Lu Chen used this gun to destroy the Dongfeng family. The gun broke, but he really didn't throw it away. Unfortunately, the only thing between them was this broken spear. Li Haobai walked over and pulled Mengshi up. Mengshi looked at Li Haobai. At least this man didn't shrink back just now. Perhaps it was just like what her father said. Marrying him was the best choice. Haobai, I know my request is a bit too much, but can I keep this broken spear? Unexpectedly, Li Haobai nodded in agreement. Sure, you have already made your choice between him and me. As for the broken spear, you can keep it if you want. One day, I will make you forget him completely. Thank you. After returning from the Heavenly Saint Empire, Lu Chen had been depressed. Yanzhu secretly told the Lu family about what happened in the Heavenly Saint Empire. It's like this. Master suffered a setback and can't recover. Yanzhu said. Qin Yueqin looked worriedly at Lu Chen, who was fishing by the lake. Sigh, this child must be very sad. He didn't tell us and kept everything in his heart. We should comfort him. Wan'er frowned. That Mengshi really doesn't have good eyesight. My brother is so outstanding, but she didn't choose him. Yueqin touched Wan'er's head. Silly girl, don't say that. He has his difficulties. Uncle Tai suddenly stood up. Let me go and persuade him. I have experience in matters like falling out of love. After saying that, Uncle Tai went to find a fish basket. He walked to the lakeside and sat beside Lu Chen. Chen, you didn't bring a fish basket. How are you going to store the fish? At this moment, a fish took the bait. After Lu Chen caught it, he untied the hook and let the fish go. Not long after the hook was put down, another fish took the bait. Lu Chen untied the hook and let the fish go. Uncle Tai's eyes widened. So this guy only wanted to fish, not fish. But the frequency of his fishing was too fast, right? Did he encounter a school of fish? Uncle Tai, did that blabbermouth Yanzhu tell you? Lu Chen said faintly. At this moment, he seemed to have no strength to speak, unlike his usual energetic self. Don't blame Yanzhu. We kept asking. Uncle Tai, you don't have to persuade me. I know what you want to say. I just need some time to digest it. Uncle Tai couldn't help but laugh. This guy had been smart since he was young. His intelligence was many times better than his peers. Even now, he could see things more clearly than anyone else. It seemed like they worried too much. All right, I know you won't have a problem. Anyway, there are plenty of fish in the sea. Here's the fish basket. At least catch one or two. It's almost time to eat. Got it, Uncle Tai. This adjustment took half a year. Lu Chen finally started to spend some time every day guiding Wan'er and Yanzhu in their cultivation. For the rest of the time, he would sit cross-legged on the lake and cultivate. To Lu Chen, although he didn't marry Mengshi, his family was living together leisurely. This was also a happy thing. At the end of the month, the people of Tianwu Kingdom sent over many resources. Among them, there were pills that could treat chronic illnesses. They could treat Uncle Tai's leg injury. It was said that Shangguan Hong had asked a high-grade alchemist to refine it. 3 months later, Uncle Tai was no longer limping. The old injury that had been there for almost 10 years showed signs of recovery. While guiding Wan'er and Yanzhu in their cultivation, Lu Chen found a problem. If Wan'er and Yanzhu had any questions in their cultivation, Lu Chen could help them solve it. However, Lu Chen couldn't teach her the origin celestial demonic cultivation technique. It was a cultivation technique that wasn't recorded in words. Lu Chen had also learned it directly. He could only let her cultivate the Jade Clear Foundation cultivation technique that he had obtained from the Western Saint Spiritual Academy. Finally, Lu Chen couldn't teach Lu Wan her alchemy and refining. In order to not delay their cultivation, Lu Chen asked Shang Guanhong for a recommendation letter to send Lu Wan and Yanzhu to the Tianwu Kingdom's #1 spiritual source, the ultimate spiritual source. Of course, the most important thing was that the two of them had to learn the Earth Fiend Mystic Spear. This spear art was the essence of Lu Chen's cultivation technique. Half a year later, Uncle Tai's old injury had healed. Under the encouragement of Lu Chen and his wife, Uncle Tai once again stepped onto the path of cultivation and went out to gain experience. As for Lu Chen, he had always been by his mother's side. They lived in his grandfather's old house. Other than Lu Chen spending a lot of time cultivating, there was no difference between them and an ordinary family. This kind of life was simple but warm. In the real world, Lu Chen's mother had left him when he was young. But here, Qin Yueqin was his mother. The motherly love that he had lost was compensated here. Lu Chen had originally lived an ordinary life like this. However, living in the Tianyuan continent wasn't destined to be so peaceful. 8 years later, in the year 1724 of the Tianyuan era, the situation of the world being divided into three was finally broken. The Heavenly Saints Empire destroyed the Heavenly Might Empire's capital and annexed the Heavenly Might Empire. 6 years later, the Heavenly Saints Empire launched an attack on the Heavenly Martial Empire. The Heavenly Martial Empire's army was defeated and half of the cities fell. The Heavenly Saints Empire's army marched straight in and killed their way to the Heavenly Martial Empire's capital. Lu Chen was cultivating on the surface of the lake as usual when his mother suddenly came to the lakeside. Chen, our Grandmaster Tianhing is here. He wants to see you. Chapter 1373. Lu Chen went to the lakeside, picked up the fishing rod and basket, and followed his mother back into the house. He found that only Tianheng had come this time. "Mister, you're back." Seeing Lu Chen return, Master Tianheng hurriedly stood up. Lu Chen said indifferently, "Is Master Tianheng looking for me to resolve the crisis of Tianwu Kingdom?" Tianheng was stunned for a moment. He did not expect Lu Chen to be so direct. Before he even opened his mouth, Lu Chen already knew his intentions. "That's right. Mister is also a citizen of Tianwu Kingdom. Now that Tianwu Kingdom is facing a crisis, I hope that Mister can help." Lu Chen put down the fishing rod and basket. "Master, I remember when Shang Guanhong hired me as a consecrator, he said that I don't need to do anything." Tianheng hurriedly said, "Mister, that's true. But now that Tianwu Kingdom is about to fall, we can't defend against the Heavenly Saint Empire's attack. So we have no choice but to ask for Mister's help." Lu Chen came to the table and sat down. He did not comment on Tianheng's words and only asked, "I remember that a few years ago, the three kingdoms were evenly matched. How did the Heavenly Saint Empire suddenly rise up and swallow 2 kingdoms?" "Mister, you don't know. The Heavenly Saint Empire's experts have appeared." Tianheng said, 14 years ago, 10 Heavenly Spirit Realm experts joined the Heavenly Saint Empire's consecrators. Those 10 people's strength is shocking. One of them can fight against 1,000,000 soldiers. Heavenly Spirit Realm experts? Lu Chen frowned. In the Tianyuan continent, the strongest he had seen was only a God Spirit Realm expert. Someone like Shuezhang was already the strongest in the Heavenly Saint Empire. "Mister, the three kingdoms' military strength was originally about the same. But after these 10 people appeared, the balance was broken. Tianwei was defeated, and Tianwu Kingdom is also in danger." Lu Chen frowned. "The other kingdoms don't have Heavenly Spirit Realm experts." Yes, Tianwei Consecrator had a Heavenly Spirit Realm expert, but he died in battle. Our Tianwu Kingdom's 2 Heavenly Spirit Realm experts were also forced out, but our numbers are obviously inferior. Then you think that I'm a match for those 10 people? Sir, 14 years ago, you already had the strength to kill a God-level expert. Now, even if you haven't reached the heavenly level, you're still a great fighting force. We can only block for a while now." Seeing that Lu Chen was unmoved, Tianheng hurriedly said. Mister, when heavenly might was destroyed, heavenly sage slaughtered the 3 million strong army. Even though they claim that they won't harm the common people, they have confiscated countless assets. In the past 2 years of war, there hasn't been any changes in the Heaven Saint Nation, but the taxes on the common people of the Heaven Might Nation have doubled. The common people have no way to make a living. In the end, they won't treat the citizens of the 2 countries equally. If Tiansheng really unifies the 3 countries, I'm afraid that things will become even worse. At that time, the citizens of Tianwu will never be able to rise again. Sir, the country is about to perish, and the family is about to be destroyed. Lu Chen snorted coldly. Don't talk nonsense with me. When my family is destroyed, where is the country? Sir, back then, King Hong believed Eastern Azure Dragon's words. Besides, King Hong has treated you well all these years. There's no need to say anymore. You can leave. With that, Lu Chen directly asked him to leave. Although Tianheng was unwilling, seeing that Lu Chen was no longer looking at him, there was no room for discussion. This kind of thing couldn't be forced, so he could only leave resentfully. After Tianheng left, Qin Yueqin sat beside Lu Chen. Chener, will you go? No one knows a son better than a mother. Although Lu Chen didn't mention that he would go, Mother Lu Chen could still feel that Lu Chen wouldn't just stand by and watch. Lu Chen sighed. Not for the country, but for the common people. Qin Yueqin nodded, her eyes filled with gratification. Chener, your father used to be like this. Mother, is there any news about Wan Er Yanzhu and Uncle Tai? The Zhizhen Spiritual Academy has already joined the battle. Wan Er and Yanzhu have also joined the army. Tai came to see us half a month ago. When you went up the mountain to chop firewood, he seemed to have something urgent and didn't wait for you. At that time he rushed to Heaven Marshal City. It should be related to this matter. Lu Chen nodded. Wan Er has also grown up. Mother, let's pack up and prepare to go to Heaven Marshal City. I don't feel at ease leaving you here alone. Chen, just now Master Tianheng said that there are 10 great heaven spirits in the Heaven Saint Empire. You really want to go? Qin Yueqin suddenly became worried. Lu Chen smiled. Heaven spirits can't even withstand a single blow from me. Qin Yueqin was stunned. Heaven spirits were the strongest experts in the Tianyuan continent. It could be said that they had already peaked into the peak of heaven stage. For Chener to say such words, then his realm should be. Chener, what realm are you at now? Lu Chen looked at his mother. This was the only person he couldn't lie to. 18-star human king. It was impossible to become an immortal in the ancient realm. Therefore, many immortals who came to the ancient realm to train found it difficult to increase their realm. However, Lu Chen was different. He had not become an immortal. In the past 14 years, Lu Chen had not only consolidated his spear intent, but also did not let go of his realm. He had already broken through to 18-star human king. Human king? Mother, there are some things that I can't explain clearly. In short, just believe in Chener. Qin Yueqin indeed did not understand her son's realm, but she believed in Lu Chen. All right. Mother doesn't know much about cultivation, but I believe in you. I'll go pack up. I'll help you. 7 days later, Lu Chen and Qin Yueqin arrived at Heaven Marshal City. At this moment, the Heaven Saint Empire was attacking. Looking at the west of the city walls of Heaven Marshal City were emitting thick smoke. The city walls were broken, and a large number of martial artists were repairing them. There were almost no ordinary citizens in the city, but martial artists from all over had already rushed here and occupied various areas of the city to defend against the enemies. The city was too chaotic and even carriages could not be used. Lu Chen brought his mother on foot. Who are you? Why are you still in Heaven Marshal City? A few martial artists saw Lu Chen and Qin Yueqin and stopped them. Lu Chen replied, Friend, do you know where the Zhizhen Spiritual Academy's camp is? Zhizhen is in the southwest camp. Little brother, quickly take this old woman away. This is not a place you should be. Qin Yueqin was already in her 50s or 60s. Although her body was fine, she was already an old woman over 50 years old. Thank you for your concern. I'll leave after finding someone. Lu Chen gave a perfunctory reply and brought his mother to the southwest. Not long after, Lu Chen saw a flag not far away. On it was written Heaven Marshal Zhizhen, which should be the location of the Zhizhen Spiritual Academy. The so-called camp was just an open-air resting area. After successive battles, the Zhizhen Spiritual Academy had suffered heavy losses. Not only were the injured resting here, but they were also resting. Chen, do you think Wan and Yanju will be fine? Qin Yueqin started to worry when she saw so many injured people. After some twists and turns, they finally found Lu Wan and Yanju. The current Lu Wan had already grown into a slender and elegant woman. She was very conspicuous in the crowd. Wan! Qin Yueqin hurriedly shouted when she saw Wan. Wan turned her head and immediately ran over. Mother, why are you here? Brother, why did you bring Mother here? Lu Chen lightly smiled. Mother is worried about you. Oh right, where's Zhuzi? Yanju is helping me distribute the medicine. Now that there's a shortage of elixirs, the dean asked me to be in charge of refining them. Oh right, Uncle Tai is also helping. Lu Chen nodded his head. He raised his head and saw a busy figure among the injured. He lightly smiled. Yanju. When Yanju heard the figure, he hurriedly turned his head and quickly found Lu Chen. After seeing Lu Chen, Yanju hurriedly ran over. Master, why are you here? Lu Chen looked at the hundreds of injured people around him, and the smoke in the distance. He thought of the countless civilians who were forced to leave their homes and calmly said, "It's time for this war to end." Chapter 1374. Tai quickly rushed over and was extremely excited when he saw Lu Chen. Uncle Tai, what's your current realm? Lu Chen asked. After all these years of training, I'm now a spiritual king. Tai's face was filled with pride. Chen, what about you? Did you break through to the heaven spirit realm? Lu Chen smiled faintly. It's considered a breakthrough. While 33 years old heaven spirit realm. This is simply unheard of. Uncle Tai Wan Zhuzi, don't spread the news that I'm here. I don't want Shengguan Hong to know that I'm here. We'll stay near the Zhizhen Spiritual Academy's camp for the time being. Chen, are you really going to make a move? In a few days, the Heaven Spirit Realm experts from the Heavenly Holy Empire will be here. I'm guessing that they're going to launch an attack. Lu Chen nodded. I know, I'm waiting for them. The Heavenly Martial Kingdom had already suffered heavy casualties. 3 days later, the Heavenly Holy Empire's army launched a large-scale attack. Millions of soldiers lined up at the front of the Heavenly Martial City's city walls. From afar, they looked like a black mass with no end in sight. In front of the Heavenly Martial City, the Heavenly Martial Kingdom's cultivators lined up. Over 1 million cultivators stood in front of the city, ready to fight at any time. Not long later, white figures flashed across the sky and stopped in front of the Heavenly Holy Empire's army. Within the army, Uncle Tai said to Lu Chen, Chen, those people are here. You must be careful when the time comes. Lu Chen nodded. Over 100 people walked out from the enemy's army. The leader was the Heavenly Holy Empire's Yan Zijuan. Behind him were the Heavenly Holy Empire's super experts. The group walked directly to the front of the Heavenly Martial Kingdom's army. Yan Zijuan looked at Shengguan Hong and smiled. Prince Hong, we've been fighting for over a month. Even if my experts don't make a move, you won't be able to hold on for much longer. Why don't you surrender? Shengguan Hong looked at Yan Zijuan coldly. Prince Yan, are you lying to a child? Do you think I don't know how the Heavenly Martial Kingdom treats the surrendered soldiers? The 3 million surrendered soldiers of the Heavenly Prestige were all killed by you. Yan Zijuan smiled. I asked you to surrender, but I didn't say I would let you go. I just wanted the commoners to suffer less. Prince of Yan, you can save it. Who in the world doesn't know how you treat the people? Stop pretending to be a saint. Yan Zijuan smiled slightly. You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Just the 12 heavenly spirits behind me are enough to flatten your Heaven Martial City. The Heavenly Saint Empire was indeed powerful. There were already 2 Heavenly Spirit Realm experts in the Consecration Hall. In addition to the 10 Heavenly Spirit Realm experts who came to join them, there were already 12 Heavenly Spirit Realm experts. behind Shengguanhong. An old man narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, "Why are you talking so much nonsense? If you want to fight, then fight. Could it be that I, King Cloud, am afraid of you ignorant brats? I was wondering who could be so boastful. So it's Heaven Spirit Canyon Master." One of the people in the formation laughed. "You've lived for more than 150 years. It's time for you to die." Another person's eyes were filled with disdain. "You're just a 7-star heavenly spirit. We don't have anyone lower than you here." Yan Zijuan smiled. All right. Looks like they're in a hurry to die. Then I won't waste my breath. Generals of the Heavenly Saint Empire, listen to my orders. Wash the Heaven Martial City with blood." Just as Yan Zijuan was about to leave, a voice sounded from the side of the Heaven Martial City's formation. Wait. Yan Zijuan, Shengguanhong, and the rest looked in the direction of the voice in astonishment. They saw a person slowly walking out from the Utmost Perfection Spiritual Academy's formation. Seeing someone from his academy stepping out, the principal of the Utmost Perfection Spiritual Academy was stunned. Who is this person? A disciple of the Utmost Perfection Spiritual Academy? Why is he so gutsy to speak out at this time? This was a conversation between the top forces of the two empires. How could it be the turn of nameless pawns like them? Unfortunately, before he could call out to that person had already walked towards Yan Zijuan. Seeing that person, Yan Zijuan was stunned. He searched his mind carefully, and suddenly found a memory that matched that person. Lu Chun? In the formation behind Yan Zijuan, Li Haobai was also stunned. Lu Chun. He hurriedly looked at the girl beside him. As expected, Mengshi was also stunned. Perhaps she had thought that they would meet on the battlefield, but when the moment really came, she was caught off guard. Shengguanhong's eyes widened. He turned around and asked Tianheng, "Master Tianheng, didn't you say that Lu Chun wouldn't come?" "He did say that to me. I didn't expect him to appear now. But he can't be thinking of stopping the King of Yen alone, right? Lu Chun didn't even have a weapon. He stood a dozen meters away from Yan Zijuan. Yan Zijuan couldn't help but take a few steps back. However, the Heaven Spirit Realm expert beside him said softly, "Don't panic, King of Yen. We will protect you later." The King of Yen then calmed down. Lu Chun looked at the King of Yen indifferently and said, "Do you know that I am the consecrator of the Heaven Martial City?" The King of Yen was stunned. However, with the 12 Heaven Spirit Realm experts beside him, he regained his confidence. "So what if I know?" Lu Chun said indifferently, "Since you know, you still led your troops to attack the Heaven Martial City. Are you looking down on me? Lu Chun, even if you are a Heaven Spirit Realm expert now, I have 12 Heaven Spirit Realm experts beside me. Do you think I need to take you seriously?" The King of Hell said coldly. Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly. "So, your confidence comes from the 12 Heaven Spirit Realm experts?" As he said that, Lu Chen's gaze swept past Li Haobai and Mengshi who were at the back. "Your subordinates also have wives and daughters. I don't want to kill them. King of Yen, since your confidence comes from the 12 Heaven Spirit Realm experts, I will only kill 12 people. After these 12 people are dead, you will return the territory of the Heaven Martial Country, and the 3 countries will sign a 100-year ceasefire agreement." The moment Lu Chun said that, the entire battlefield almost exploded. The Heaven Martial Country was in a mess. What? He said that he wants to kill 12 Heaven Spirit Realm experts? Did I hear it wrongly? What kind of joke is this? Not to mention the Heaven Martial Country, even in the Tianyuan continent, no one has ever dared to say such arrogant words. Only kill 12 people? At first I thought he was holding back. But in the end, he said 12 Heaven Spirit Realm experts? Ha ha ha, I have never heard such a funny thing in my life. The Heaven Martial Country was also shocked. Who is that person? Is he crazy? He seems to be from the Zhizhen Spiritual Academy. Indeed, everyone in the Zhizhen Spiritual Academy is normal. Even Master Canyon doesn't dare to say such arrogant words. What is he trying to do? Mengshi stared straight at Lu Chun. Is this big brother Lu Chun? He seemed to have changed a lot. He became more indifferent, more calm, and more calm. 14 years ago, She didn't have the chance to see Big Brother Lu Chen slaughter the Dongfang family. But today, she saw Big Brother Lu Chen challenging the 12 Heaven Spirit Realm experts alone. This was probably something even worse than annihilating the Dongfang family. However, Big Brother Lu Chen just stood there, as still as water, as unmoving as a mountain. She had a feeling that she couldn't surpass him. This kind of spirit was simply charming. 14 years, Mengshi was already someone's wife and mother. But it was just a meeting. It was just like when she saw that young man in the dark, piercing the sky with his spear. Her heart raced and she couldn't control herself. Chapter 1375. I don't want to waste time here. Lu Chen said indifferently. 12 heavenly spirits, come at me together. Hearing this, Uncle Tai's legs went soft and he almost fell. Not to mention 1 against 12. He even wanted them to come at him together. Chener was going crazy. Shang Guanhang's heart almost jumped out. It wasn't easy to have an extra fighting force, but he was going to give it away for free. Kan Yun and Yuan Hua, the 2 heavenly spirit realm experts from the Tianwu kingdom, walked to Lu Chen's side and asked, Lu Chen, don't act rashly. Even if we have to fight, the 3 of us together have a higher chance of winning. No need. Lu Chen flatly and decisively rejected the 2 of them. I alone am enough. Lu Chen's words obviously angered the 12 heavenly spirits. As the strongest in Tianyuan continent, every heavenly spirit realm expert was revered by tens of thousands of people. Even the monarch had to be courteous to them. How could they stand such contempt? Lu Chen, you really have guts. You want the 12 of us to come at you together? I've never seen such an arrogant person since ancient times. Alright, come at me together. I'll use your Lu Chen's blood as a sacrifice to my heavenly saint army. Lu Chen had already proposed a one-on-one challenge. The morale of the 2 armies was the most important. Naturally, the heavenly saint empire would not admit defeat. Other than the 12 heavenly spirit realm experts, everyone else retreated. Millions of troops from both sides were waiting for this unprecedented battle. The 12 of them had already taken out their weapons. There were swords, sabers, golden bowls, war hammers and axes. The moment these 12 people took out their weapons, it immediately caused a commotion. That's the Heaven Quake Hammer? That person is using the legendary Heaven Quake Hammer? Amber Heavenly Crystal Sword. It's the Amber Heavenly Crystal. It's said to be a divine weapon that has been lost for thousands of years. It's actually in that person's hands. That's Baleful Bone Blade? Wasn't it rumored to be destroyed? How could it appear here? These martial artists naturally knew the legendary divine weapons like the back of their hands. Since the 12 of them had cultivated to the Sky Spirit realm, they naturally used the strongest weapons. One of the 12 heaven spirits looked at Lu Chen with his hands behind his back and coldly laughed. Lu Chen, show us your weapon. I heard that you use a spear. I want to see which godly spear you're using. Lu Chen lightly said, I'm afraid you have never heard of my gun, but I didn't bring it with me. Uncle Tai had just straightened his body when his legs went soft again. My dear mother, Chen, you've gone too far. Fighting the 12 heavenly spirits without any weapons? What a joke. No weapons? Humph, that's your problem. Don't expect us to show mercy. Just based on what you said just now, it's enough for you to die 10,000 times. Lu Chen smiled and swept his gaze across the ground. Coincidentally, there was a dead branch in front of him. It was less than 50 centimeters long and as thick as a finger. Lu Chen bent down to pick it up. The branch was already cracked. The moment Lu Chen raised it, the branch could not withstand the force and broke in half. Now the branch in Lu Chen's hand was about 20 centimeters long. In Lu Chen's hand, it was just a small wooden stick. Lu Chen did not mind. With one hand behind his back, he weighed the value and said, forget it, I'll use this. The air froze for a long time at this moment. Who knows how many people's brains short-circuited. Ha 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 ha, Lu Chen, you don't even have a weapon. Let's see how you're going to kill my 12 heaven spirits. Such an arrogant person. Today I will definitely pull out your tendons and make fun of you. Kill. The 12 heaven spirits exploded with spirit energy at the same time, and charged towards Lu Chen at the same time. Lu Chen calmly stood in the middle of the field. He could clearly see the figures of these 12 people. He poured spirit energy into the branch and suddenly shouted, "Come at me!" Earth Fiend Xianming Spear, Mysterious Sky Earth Fiend. Just as he said that small branch instantly transformed into a long spear image. With a boom, the long spear directly smashed into the ground. In an instant, the ground cracked. That branch cracked the ground? In the crowd, countless people were already shocked to the point of stuttering. In the next second, within a 1,000-meter radius, countless black gas soared into the sky. The terrifying black gas instantly formed a black pillar that soared into the sky. Just as the 12 heaven spirits were about to approach Lu Chen, they saw this terrifying black pillar and hurriedly retreated. Quickly retreat, it's the Earth Terminus Chi. Not good. Why is this fellow's spirit energy so fierce? It's simply unheard of. Quick, let's attack together. Otherwise, it will be hard to block his spear. Master Chuyue, your sword intent is the strongest. Let's transfer our spirit energy into your move, and use the amber heavenly crystal sword to break the heaven-earth terminus spear. The 12 heaven spirits no longer dared to be careless. They used all that they had learned, and used their life's worth of spirit energy. The 11 of them stood in 4 directions, and transferred their spirit energy into one of them. The silver-white sword in front of that person also transformed into a giant sword image. It grew bigger and bigger until it was the same size as Lu Chen's black spear. Both sides attacked at the same time. A silver-white sword image and a black spear instantly collided. With a loud boom, the sand on the battlefield rolled and filled the sky. A huge aftershock surged out like a tsunami. The battle formations of both sides were directly scattered, and countless people were swept away by the hurricane. Even the city walls of Heaven Marshal City, that were already in danger, could no longer withstand such a terrifying aftershock. Half of it was directly sliced off. In the entire Heaven Marshal City, all the buildings that were taller than 6 to 7 meters were directly sliced in half. Under the protection of a group of immortal experts, King Yan was fine. However, he did not care about his own situation at all. His eyes were fixed on the battlefield. Lu Chen's spirit energy is actually so terrifying. Fighting against the 12 heaven spirits. The yellow sand rolled and finally, the dust settled. The scene on the battlefield gradually became clear. In the wind and sand, a tall black figure could be faintly seen standing. However, there was no one beside him. Finally, everyone saw that the only person who was still standing on the battlefield was Lu Chen. Around him, the 12 heaven spirits had fallen to the ground and could not move. Seeing this scene, Remnant Cloud's eyeballs almost popped out. Lu Chen, he won. I am not dreaming, right? Yuan Hua was even more shocked. Not only did he win, but he is also not injured at all. Oh my god, Lu Chen's realm. Could it be? Comprehending the heavens and breaking through the human Tao. The king of Yen was stunned. Impossible, impossible, impossible. How could he defeat the 12 heaven spirits? The 12 heaven spirits are all heaven spirit experts with extremely high star levels. In Tianyuan continent, they are already at the peak level. How is it possible for someone to fight against 12 heaven spirits alone, and defeat the 12 heaven spirits in one move? Lu Chen, you, what kind of demon are you? Shuezhang took a deep breath. 14 years ago, he was the strongest in the Heaven Holy Empire. He could be said to be the strongest below the heaven spirits. At that time, Lu Chen had just slaughtered the Dongfang clan. He and Lu Chen could be said to have brushed past each other. Now that he thought about it, he did not brush past Lu Chen. It was possible that he had brushed past death. In front of Lu Chen, he could not withstand one move. Shuezhang took a deep breath and sighed. Why is there such a powerful person in this world? Not to mention the Heaven Sage is the strongest. Since ancient times, Tianyuan is the strongest. For the next few thousand years, I am afraid that no one could compare to him. Chapter 1376. The Heavenly Saint Empire's 12 heavenly spirits were all killed by Lu Chen in one move. Millions of people imagined the great battle of the ages, but it ended in the form of an instant kill, making countless people's minds go blank. However, this kind of scene, to Lu Chun, had already seen too many times. There was not the slightest bit of joy after winning on his face, as if everything that happened just now was an ordinary thing. It was not that Lu Chun was proud and arrogant, but there was really nothing to be happy about. Hundreds of Sengoku had been killed before, not to mention these 12 heavenly spirits. Just as everyone was scared out of their wits by Lu Chen's battle, a cold light suddenly shot over from afar. "Kill my master, I'll fight it out with you." Immediately, a sharp sword instantly arrived in front of Lu Chun. The person's strength was not worth mentioning. Lu Chun used the tree branch to lightly move, and that person was already sent flying. However, although that person's strength was weak, his fighting spirit was strong, and his technique was also remarkable. After being sent flying by Lu Chun, that person slapped the ground with sword chi, and using the reaction force, relying on his impressive movement technique, he once again stabbed at Lu Chun. "Die for me." Just as Lu Chun was about to use the 9-star acupoint sealing spear chi to kill this person, he saw that person's appearance. He was suddenly stunned. Li Haobai. It happened so suddenly, Lu Chun was about to make a move, and he hurriedly pulled back. But the other party's sword had already stabbed over, and Lu Chun was busy pulling back, and he was actually stabbed in the shoulder. Lu Chen's right shoulder was stabbed, and that person was about to pierce through Lu Chen's shoulder with his sword when Lu Chun shouted, 9-star acupoint sealing spear. What he pointed at was not Li Haobai, but the sword in Li Haobai's hand. In an instant, the sword in Li Haobai's hand directly exploded. Li Haobai could not pull back in time, and the sword hilt in his hand was already in front of Lu Chun, and Lu Chen's tree branch was already at Li Haobai's throat. At this moment, the scene froze. Li Haobai's sword hilt was no longer a threat to Lu Chun, but although the tree branch in Lu Chen's hand was unremarkable, no one doubted that this tree branch at Li Haobai's throat could easily take his life. Li Haobai stared at Lu Chun, full of anger. Lu Chun checked his right shoulder. A section of the sword was embedded in it. "Lu Chun, kill me," Li Haobai suddenly said. "I admit that I can't beat you, and I won't be able to catch up to you in this lifetime. But you killed my master and martial uncle. If I don't take revenge, I'll be ashamed to face my sect." Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly. "If I wanted to kill you, you wouldn't have the chance to stab me with your sword." Li Haobai's words. "Mengshi, I know that she has always had you in her heart. No matter how much I dote on her and how much I do for her, she has never forgotten you. She never threw away her remaining blood." As he spoke, Li Haobai laughed dejectedly. "This is laughable. I, Li Haobai, can be considered a genius that only appears once in 100 years. However, my martial skills are inferior to yours. Even my wife cannot forget you in her heart. Lu Chun, kill me." Li Haobai leaned forward and pressed his neck against the tree branch. "Be good to Shi-er in the future." At this moment, a beautiful figure flashed over. Then a familiar voice sounded. "Brother Lu Chun, I beg you, spare my husband's life." Mengshi stood beside Li Haobai. Facing Lu Chun, her tears kept flowing. Then she knelt in front of Lu Chun. "Brother Lu Chun, I beg you." Li Haobai looked at Mengshi in surprise. He did not expect his wife to kneel and plead with Lu Chun for him. Mengshi raised her head and looked at Li Haobai. "Haobai, I've let you down all these years. I can't completely forget what happened in the past, but I've never thought of remarrying. If you die, I'll die with you. Brother Lu Chun, I beg you. We've known each other since childhood. My child is still young. Please spare Haobai's life." Mengshi cried. Looking at the current Mengshi, a mother and wife, Lu Chun recalled the scene when they first met. Mengshi helped him choose a cultivation method and weapon. She secretly came to Lu Chun and asked him to make delicious food. He Yanju, and Mengshi, a temporary in-name disciple, a cook, and an elite disciple. There was no discrimination between the three children. There was no purpose. They just laughed and played around. They almost became husband and wife. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. Mengshi was a good girl. It was just that they were not fated to be together. Lu Chun slowly put down the tree branch. Shi-er, Haobai is a righteous boy. You didn't choose the wrong person. Mengshi and Haobai looked at Lu Chun in surprise at the same time. Lu Chun smiled. When we were young, we had unforgettable feelings. It's just that so many years have passed. Some people and some things should be let go. A missed opportunity is a missed opportunity. I've already seen through it. You and I can no longer go back to the past. It's the same for you. When you go home, throw away the remnant blood spear. After that, Lu Chen looked at Li Haobai. When two countries fight, there will definitely be casualties. You and your master have fought for many years. You probably don't remember how many people you've killed. Since you're going to war with the army, you're only prepared to kill, but not to be killed. Isn't that a joke? Li Haobai, if you insist on taking revenge, you can look for me anytime. However, I might not hold back the next time. With that, Lu Chen threw away the tree branch in his hand. He held his shoulder and walked towards the king of Yan. There were hundreds of people guarding the king of Yan. However, when they saw Lu Chen walking towards them step by step, they couldn't help but take a step back. Lu Chen sneered. With avoid 9 steps, he was already in front of Yan Zijuan. Do you think that you have a chance to escape from me? When he said that, everyone's hearts tightened. The 12 heavenly spirits had been killed. It would be easy for Lu Chen to kill them. Lu Chen Yu, why are you so strong? This has already exceeded the range of a heavenly spirit expert. Yan Zijuan was angry and afraid. Lu Chen snorted. You don't need to worry about my strength. You just need to understand that now, your confidence is gone. Yan Zijuan took a deep breath. When he heard Lu Chen say that he was going to kill the 12 heavenly spirits, who would have believed him? But now, in the blink of an eye, the 12 heavenly spirits of Heaven Saint Nation were all killed. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes and experienced it personally, Yan Zijuan would have thought that he was dreaming. I don't want to repeat what I said before. I'll give you 3 months. If you can't do it well, I'll visit you personally. With that, Lu Chen turned around calmly and walked towards the Tianwu Defense Force. Yan Zijuan was already sweating profusely. He watched as Lu Chen returned to the Tianwu Defense Force before he could recover. Lu Chen said that he would personally come to visit, and his personal visit was obviously not to persuade the guest to come to talk with him. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Lu Chen alone could defeat 1,000 soldiers and slaughter 3 countries. King of Yanhui. Shuizhang looked at Yan Zijuan. The Prince of Yan let out a long sigh. It seems that everything is heaven's will. How did Tianwu Kingdom manage to recruit someone like Lu Chen? Our Tianwu country has an invincible army, but we can't defeat Lu Chen alone. Chapter 1377. Before Lu Chen left, he took the weapons of the 12 heavenly spirits and glanced at Li Haobai. From the way you used the spirit just now, the person who used the amber heavenly crystal sword should be your master. Li Haobai thought of his master, and his heart ached. He nodded, not knowing what Lu Chen wanted to do. Lu Chen threw the amber heavenly crystal sword to Li Haobai. Keep your master's relics well. With that, he turned and left. Although Lu Chen had left, the 3 million heavenly saints' army did not dare to take another step forward. Because Tianwu Kingdom had a consecrator called Lu Chen. Let's go. King Yan seemed to have aged a few decades in an instant. He said weakly, bring the 12 heavenly spirits back to the heavenly saints for a proper burial. King Yan also turned around desolately. However, at this moment, hundreds of deities and immortals from Tianwu Kingdom and Heavenly Saints' Kingdom suddenly charged towards the center of the battlefield. They were not fighting, but pouncing towards a tree branch on the ground at the same time. This is mine. This tree branch must be an ancient divine weapon. A tree branch that can kill the 12 heavenly spirits. I must have it. Whoever dares to snatch the weapon that Lu Chen used, I will fight it out with him. Seeing this scene, Wonder was so shocked that she could not speak for a long time. A tree branch that brother used actually attracted deities and deities to fight over? Could it be that brother did not casually pick up that tree branch? Suddenly, the dean of the spiritual academy beside Wanner sighed. Sigh, I wanted to pick it up just now, but now it seems that I have no chance. They are all deities and deities fighting over it. I have no chance. Wanner's eyes widened. Even the dean had fallen? Dean, that is just an ordinary tree branch, right? Wanner said. The dean shook his head. Wanner, you don't understand. What is a divine weapon? Other than the special material and incomparably sharp, the reason why a divine weapon is a divine weapon, other than the divine weapon itself, the most important thing is, who has used it before? With the power of one person, he killed the 12 heavenly spirits in one move. All kinds of legendary divine weapons were defeated by this tree branch. Tell me, in the future, when talking about this battle and this tree branch, isn't it the strongest divine weapon in Tianyuan? Wanner was stunned. Regardless of whether it was the amber heavenly crystal, the sky quake hammer, the baleful bone saber, or the Buddha's lamp and golden alms bowl, which of them were not defeated by that branch? Who could refute that it was the most powerful divine artifact in the Tianyuan continent? But if the weapon that Big Brother used was the strongest godly weapon, then there seemed to be many more at home: fire sticks, clothes drying poles, fishing rods, rakes, hoes, and spatulas. Could these be considered the most powerful weapons in Tianyuan? Sigh, there really is such a transcendent person in the world. I really don't know who can beat Lu Chen. The dean was still lamenting. Lu Wanner couldn't help but snicker. Dean, I don't think he's strong at all. Just from what I know, there are several people who can make him unable to even fight back. Oh, impossible. Who are you talking about? Lu Wanner smiled and said, My mother, me Uncle Tai. Humph. As she spoke, Lu Wanner ignored the dean's puzzled expression and turned around proudly. She was in high spirits. Lu Chen looked at the half-destroyed Heaven Marshal City and said to his mother in shame, Mother, I'm afraid this place will take some time to be rebuilt. We won't be able to settle down here. China, you didn't see it. Just now, when the pneuma was used, all the buildings above 3 stories were flattened. Qin Yueqin said with lingering fear. Mother, it didn't hurt you, right? No, it didn't. Someone told us that the enemy would release fire arrows when attacking the city, so we shouldn't stay at high places. It's just that the scene was a little scary. Lu Chen smiled. That's good. Let's go back to our hometown. It's all over? Lu Chen nodded. It's all over. That pneuma was created by you? Mother, I didn't think too much at that time. Now that he thought about it, destroying buildings was indeed quite satisfying. No wonder those good-for-nothing disciples of his helped him tear down his house. Qin Yueqin suddenly laughed. Her eyes were filled with love. Silly child. If your father could see you now, his spirit in heaven would be gratified. Lu Chen sighed. The biggest regret in this life was that he had to part with his father too early. In the distance, there were already people asking about Lu Chen's whereabouts. It should be Sheng Guanhong who sent people to look for him. If he found Sheng Guanhong, it would be another round of official words. Lu Chen couldn't be bothered to see him, so he left a note at his residence and left Heaven Marshal City with his mother. A month later, the entire army of the Heaven Saint Empire retreated from Heaven Marshal Country. The cities that were previously annexed were also returned. 2 months later, the Heaven Saint Empire retreated from Heaven Marshal Country. The Emperor of Heaven Marshal Country, who was imprisoned in the Heaven Saint Water Prison, was sent back to be his own emperor. After that, the 3 emperors signed a 100 years armistice agreement in Heaven Saint City. From the beginning to the end, the Emperor of Heaven Marshal Country, Song Wei, thought that he was dreaming. He was already the emperor of a fallen country, but all of a sudden, his country was restored and he became the emperor once more. Not only so, the 3 empires even signed a 100 years armistice agreement. Minister Li, am I dreaming? After signing the armistice agreement, Emperor Song asked the advisor beside him, Emperor, this old subject also thought that I was dreaming, but it seems like it's real. Our Heaven Marshal Country has been restored. The old subject was already in tears. It's just that the citizens of Heaven Marshal Country have suffered great losses. Emperor, you have to stay away from women in the future, and pay more attention to the affairs of the country. I understand. Song Wei sighed deeply. The heavens have treated me well, and have given me another chance. This time, I will not repeat the same mistake. The war had ended, but the citizens still needed to be pacified. The 3 empires still had a long way to go. Besides, the armistice agreement only lasted for 100 years. No one knew what would happen after 100 years. Even though the Heaven Saint Empire had lost 12 heavenly spirits, their foundation was still there, and they couldn't be underestimated. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with Lu Chen anymore. In the following days he only hoped to stay by his mother's side and live a peaceful life. 5 years later, Lu Wan'er married a genius disciple of the Zenith Spiritual Academy. His name was Xianli. Even though he didn't have any background, he had great talent and was a down-to-earth person. It wouldn't be long before he would stand out. After the couple got married, they had a child a year later. Qin Yueqin stayed at Lu Wan'er's house to help take care of her grandson and enjoy the happiness of a family. Uncle Tai had always been pursuing the martial path. 12 years after the war between the three empires, he finally reached the celestial spirit realm. However, with his talent, it was difficult for him to reach the next level. Yen Zhu's talent was mediocre, but he was very smart. More importantly, he was Lu Chen's only disciple. Even though most of it was because he learned how to cook, he was still doing well. In the year 1768 of the Tianyuan era, Qin Yueqin passed away at the age of 88. 39 years later, Uncle Tai passed away at the age of 132. This servant of the Lu residence who had treated him as his own son and saved Lu Chen with his life was comparable to Lu Chen's father. In another 3 months, it would be Lu Chen's 100th birthday. Lu Chen sat alone in his grandfather's old house. Even though he was still strong, he was already 100 years old in the blink of an eye. Lu Chen let out a long sigh. It's time to leave. Chapter 1378. During this period of time, Lu Chen went to visit Lu Wan'er. Currently, Wan'er and Xianli were both Heaven Spirit Realm experts and were respected by everyone. However, when they saw Lu Chen, the two of them immediately removed the glory on their bodies and acted like ordinary people. Lu Chen was also very fond of his sister in this life, but unfortunately, he didn't have any gifts for her. In order not to worry Wan'er, Lu Chen only said that he was going on a long journey before he left the mystical Heaven Mansion. Unknowingly, Lu Chen arrived at the Li estate in Sky Saint City. Mengshi was also a God Spirit Realm expert now. However, Li Haobai had broken through to the Heaven Spirit Realm 30 years ago, and was currently the Heavenly Saint Nation's Imperial Guardian. Today Mengshi was sending her great-grandson to school. Lu Chen saw her from afar. Mengshi looked to be in her 40s. However, she was still charming, and her appearance was still eye-catching. With her strength, it would not be a problem for her to live for another 100 years. If she could break through to the Heaven Spirit Realm, she might be able to live for another 100 years. After Mengshi instructed her great-grandson, she suddenly raised her head. It seemed like someone was watching her from the dark. However, she realized there was no one around. Mengshi stood there in a daze and did not leave for a long time. It was as though she could feel an old friend suddenly visiting her. Perhaps it was to bid farewell to her. 3 months later, Lu Chen walked to the nameless lake alone and picked up the fishing rod that was placed beside the lake. This fishing rod had accompanied Lu Chen for many years. With Lu Chen's fishing skills, Lu Chen caught a lot of fish and put a lot of them into the lake. Most of the fish in the nameless lake could be named now. Lu Chen bent down to pick up the fishing rod. Then, he focused his breath and suddenly thrust the fishing rod out. On the surface of the 100-mile lake, a powerful force broke through the air, and the lake water was directly split into two. For a moment, the surface of the lake trembled and waves surged. Lu Chen arrived at the center of the lake in a flash. In an instant, the lake water that was stirred up came crashing down on him. Lu Chen put one hand behind his back, held the fishing rod in the other, and closed his eyes. The unimaginably endless lake water pressed down on Lu Chen as if the sky was collapsing. Lu Chen did not make any movements, but countless spear shadows flashed around Lu Chen's body, forming an airtight defensive array. The moment the lake water fell, it was as if a defensive barrier had been set up around Lu Chen. The water could not get close to him. What was even rarer was that Lu Chen did not use any spiritual power during the whole defensive process. He only used his spear intent to resist the lake water. Suddenly, Lu Chen jumped out of the lake and landed on the shore. At this moment, the clothes on his body were not stained by a single drop of water. It was hard to imagine that he had not been stained by a single drop of water when he had flipped the river and overturned the sea. Only then did Lu Chen open his eyes. In this life he had lost a lot and experienced a lot. However, the vicissitudes of 100 years had allowed him to comprehend the perfection of spear intent. Spear intent could be as powerful as a thunderbolt, breaking through the heavens. It was like when he had slaughtered the Dongfang family in his youth, turning the tide and breaking through 1,000 soldiers with a single anger. It could also be endless and watertight. It was like watching the clouds move and the flowers bloom and fall. Spear intent could move according to one's heart. It was like walking alone under the heavens, with tens of thousands of people bowing down to it. It could also reverse the heavens and earth, with thousands of changes, as if the world was unpredictable. Lu Chen gently stroked the fishing rod in his hand and smiled. I didn't expect that the one who would accompany me to the end would be you. It seems that my fishing practice was not in vain. In this life, Lu Chen's highest realm was the 18-star Savage King. He did not know if this was the limit of cultivation in the ancient realm, or if there was some other reason. Of course, to be able to increase his realm by 1 star, Lu Chen's harvest in the ancient realm was already much better than others. Lu Chen smiled, placed the fishing rod by the lake, and returned to his old house alone. When the time was near, Lu Chen closed his eyes and thought about this life. Although there were regrets, there were also family members protecting him. More importantly, his spear intent had reached the great accomplishment stage. It could be said that his life was not in vain. Suddenly, a long-lost dizziness came over him. Lu Chen smiled and said softly, Waner Xianli mother, father, uncle Tai Zhuzi Mingxi Li Haobai. Thank you all. Goodbye. According to Lu Chen's thoughts, he had entered the ancient realm on his last year in the 10,000 spirits ancient realm. This time, he should leave the ancient realm directly. However, after a long period of dizziness, when Lu Chen opened his eyes again, he was completely stunned. He did not return to the ancient realm. At this moment he was in the wilderness, and a female wolf was licking his body. When it came to his body, Lu Chen did not react for a long time. In fact, he was a newly born wolf cub, and he was howling uncontrollably. If someone could understand Lu Chen's current language, it could be translated into one word. Fuck. Not to mention returning to the 10,000 spirits immortal realm, he did not even return to the ancient realm. He directly reincarnated. Moreover, in this life he was reincarnated as a wolf cub. Damn it, he was not even allowed to be a human anymore. There were strange noises around, and the female wolf seemed to be a little nervous. She picked up Lu Chen's neck and trotted away, bringing Lu Chen into the forest. Lu Chen thought that at his age, a few decades in the Jiutian and 100 years in the Tianyuan continent, he should have a strong ability to accept things. However, now his head was buzzing. What's going on? Why is this happening? Where is this? Who am I? Not long after, a ferocious spotted tiger suddenly appeared in their den. The tiger was 4 to 5 times larger than an ordinary tiger, and its body was full of muscles. At a glance, one could tell that this forest was not on the same level as the one on Earth. The female wolf hid in the dark. Lu Chen could feel her trembling, and her eyes were fixed on the tiger's movements. Not long after, the tiger finally left. However, the female wolf was cautious and did not dare return to her den. She ran away with Lu Chen in her mouth. Lu Chen did not have time to care about this. He had calmed down a little. Why did he not leave the ancient realm? Could it be that the moment he returned to the ancient realm, a ball of light coincidentally hit him and caused him to reincarnate? The probability of this was too low. Even Lu Chen felt that it was impossible for such a coincidence to happen. Then, there was another possibility. The ball of light that he had entered was the so-called mirror realm. All Lu Chen knew about the mirror realm was that Guing had told him not to enter the mirror realm. Otherwise, he might never come out. As for what the mirror realm looked like and where it was, Lu Chen had no idea. Could it really be the mirror realm? The war of the myriad tribes is imminent, and I haven't started to cultivate the 4th level of the god-slaying spear. Moreover, I have turned into a wolf now. Damn it! Am I going to be killed here by the myriad spirits' ancient realm? The she-wolf found a piece of meat out of nowhere and swallowed it herself. Lu Chen had no interest in eating raw meat. However, he inadvertently saw that the female wolf's body had grown bigger after the meal. What's going on? A world where devouring makes one stronger? Then, is it possible that my bloodline of the myriad tribes can be strengthened here? In the myriad spirits' immortal realm, Little Beast, Fluffy, and Originator had been out of the Divine Beast Island for 3 days. The three of them stood in front of the ancient temple, waiting listlessly. Fluffy Originator, why hasn't our dad come out yet? Guing said that he came out on the same day as us. It's been 3 days. Little Beast leaned on Originator comfortably. Squeak, 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 squeak. That's impossible, little fur ball. My dad can't get married, and he can't get married in the ancient realm either. He's not fated to be married, the little beast said with certainty. I've urged him so many times. Do you think he cares? Fortunately, I have a younger brother now. I really want to go back and see him. I'll bring him a lot of beast cores. As his elder brother, I must spoil him. Chapter 1379. The she-wolf's body grew larger and larger as she devoured. Lu Chen was currently breastfeeding, so he stumbled along behind his mother. Although Lu Chen's mother was now a wild beast, Lu Chen could still feel a mother's love. Every day, the she-wolf guarded Lu Chen. Only when they were hunting would she leave Lu Chen in a safe place. Every night, the mother and son would return to their little nest, which was just as warm. A month later, Lu Chen's fur grew thicker and thicker. Astonishingly, he was now covered in white fur. The white wolf looked quite handsome to humans, but in the dangerous jungle, it became even more dangerous. At this time, Lu Chen began to eat some raw meat. After being reincarnated as a wolf, Lu Chen's body defeated his consciousness. He quickly developed a liking for raw meat. When he saw his mother bring back food, he would run over and bite it fiercely. At night, Lu Chen curled up beside his mother and looked at the starry sky above through the tall forest. Whether this was the mirror realm or not, he would probably be able to confirm it after this life ended. After all, the probability of being hit by 2 balls of light in a row as soon as he exited the ancient realm was almost 0. However, if Lu Chen had entered the mirror realm, then an even bigger problem would arise. How was he going to get out? He didn't have much time left. However, no matter how anxious Lu Chen was, he was powerless in his current state. He was now a wolf cub, and his mother had left the pack for some reason. They were in danger at all times. In addition, after turning into a wolf, Lu Chen couldn't fight like a human. In his current situation, he could only take 1 step at a time. In less than 2 days, his mother moved with Lu Chen. His mother had smelled the scent of a powerful wild beast. As a lone wolf, the best thing to do was to stay away from it. Over the next year, this kind of thing happened many times. His mother was extremely alert, and this alertness helped Lu Chen survive his childhood. 2 years later, Lu Chen had grown to his mother's original size. He was about the same size as an adult male wolf, but his mother's current size was on a completely different level. Now, his mother's body was almost the size of a rhinoceros. If such a huge wolf was seen on Earth, it would definitely cause a sensation. However, in this primeval forest, Lu Chen had seen even more terrifying creatures with his mother. He knew that with his current size, he still needed to be careful in order to survive. When he was sleeping that night, Lu Chen vaguely felt that someone was licking his fur. He turned around and saw that it was his mother, but there were tears in her eyes. Mother rubbed her huge head against Lu Chen intimately. Lu Chen was a little confused. What was wrong with his mother today? Then his mother actually turned around and quickly went into the forest, disappearing from sight. Lu Chen finally understood that his mother was saying goodbye to him. Even animals had a mother's love. Although Lu Chen's mother was a wolf in this life, he could still feel her feelings for him. She gave him food, taught him how to hunt, and protected Lu Chen at all times. Now that his mother had suddenly left, Lu Chen felt very sad. However, perhaps this was the way their tribe raised their cubs. When the cub was 2 years old, the mother wolf would leave. In the future, he would need to survive in this vast forest by himself. Mother, I hope you're safe. Lu Chen sighed. Sure enough, the mother wolf didn't return for a few days. She left the safest habitat for Lu Chen and went far away. Not long after, Lu Chen felt hungry. He began to learn from his mother and began to hunt some weak animals, wild rabbits, voles in the ancient realm. The divine abilities Lu Chen could use were very limited. First, they had to be techniques that didn't rely on any equipment. Secondly, these techniques could only be used after Lu Chen formed a spirit core. Moreover, only a portion of them could be used. It seemed that this was caused by the laws of this world being different from the laws of the Jiutian world. The all-creation bloodline was very special. It wasn't a piece of equipment, nor was it a technique. Instead, it was a bloodline inheritance. Even in his 2 reincarnations, the all-creation bloodline had always followed Lu Chen into the ancient realm. He still remembered that when he first obtained the all-creation bloodline, there was a note in the description. Consuming beast cores can increase the grade of the bloodline. However, Lu Chen discovered another way to increase the all-creation bloodline. Directly consuming the wild beasts here could also increase the all-creation bloodline by a small amount. The principle behind this was that these wild beasts' bloodlines were precisely the materials for high-grade wild beasts to form beast cores. Not only that, as they ate more, it seemed that the creatures here could rapidly grow and break through the norm. Since I'm already here, I'll find a way out while seeing if I can increase the rank 2 all-creation bloodline by 2 levels. Lu Chen's requirements weren't high. At least, he hadn't encountered a powerful wild beast with a beast core yet. At this rate, he could only increase the bloodline by 1 or 2 levels in 100 years. However, Lu Chen's all-creation bloodline had already reached rank 2, 1 level. His attributes had increased by 60%. In other words, his body was 60% stronger than wolves of the same age. To find a way out, it was obviously impossible to stay in this small area forever. Lu Chen had to explore the wider world. I have to form a spirit core as soon as possible. No, I have to form a beast core. Lu Chen made up his mind and began his crazy hunt. Obtained a long-tailed wild rabbit. Sorry, little rabbit, I'm going to eat you. In his boredom, Lu Chen dubbed himself and then wolfed down his prey. These wild grasses seem to be some kind of spirit grass here. I've seen my mother give them to me before. Lu Chen found a spirit grass in a cave and ate it all without hesitation. When Lu Chen was tired and prepared to return to his nest, he found that his nest had been occupied. A strong bristle-furred wild boar was reinforcing Lu Chen's nest. It seemed that it had treated this place as its home. Although this wild boar was about the same size as Lu Chen, its bristle-furred body was tough. In terms of strength, the wild boar was definitely far superior to Lu Chen. Lu Chen gnashed his teeth in hatred, but he didn't dare to find trouble with the wild boar for the time being. Damn, this guy is too strong. Its strength and defense are far above mine. Let's retreat first. Although Lu Chen was forced to leave his nest, he didn't go far. The area left behind by his mother didn't have any powerful wild beasts. Lu Chen avoided that ferocious wild boar and didn't encounter any real danger. On this day, Lu Chen hunted a fox that was slightly smaller than him. After swallowing it, he suddenly felt a warm current surging in his body. This feeling was very similar to when a cultivator broke through a realm. Am I going to break through? After a moment, Lu Chen came to the side of a small stream. Looking at his reflection in the water, he was somewhat astonished. His body was slightly larger than before. He didn't know when, but a tuft of pure black hair had appeared on his forehead. It was especially conspicuous among the snow-white fur on his body. 1-star little wolf monster? Lu Chen wondered if he should be called that. He didn't know if there were people in this world. The forest was too big. He didn't have the chance to see the whole picture of the world he was in. No matter what, Lu Chen had already completed his first level up. The first thing he had to do was to hunt a steel-backed wild boar. Chapter 1380. Lu Chen hid in the bushes and observed the wild boar. That guy had found a lot of spirit herbs and spirit fruits and decorated its new home luxuriously. This guy was different from other wild boars. It would also eat other small beasts. Lu Chen frowned. He found a tuft of black hair on the wild boar's forehead. This guy is also 1 star. Lu Chen realized that he had miscalculated. The opponent's strength was much stronger than he had imagined. It's 1 star, I'm also 1 star. But I have the all-living things bloodline. I might be able to defeat it. Lu Chen thought for a moment and decided not to wait. If he waited any longer, the heavenly abode would come. It would be even more difficult for him to hunt for food. And this guy had stored a lot of food. He would not be able to defeat it in the coming spring. While the steelback wild boar was organizing its food reserves, Lu Chen suddenly rushed out from the forest and bit the wild boar's neck. The steelback wild boar screamed and scurried around, kicking its limbs. In terms of strength, the steelback wild boar's strength was higher than Lu Chen's, who had added 60% to his attributes. Lu Chen's body was dragged around by the steelback wild boar. He did not know how many hooves and spikes he had suffered. Lu Chen was kicked until he was dizzy. His body was still pierced by the steelback wild boar's bristles. But Lu Chen still bit the steelback wild boar's neck and refused to let go. He could not let go. Otherwise he might die in the hands of this guy. The throat was one of the steelback wild boar's lifelines. Lu Chen kept increasing his strength, letting his teeth pierce the steelback wild boar's throat and blood vessels. Large amounts of blood flowed from his teeth into Lu Chen's mouth. This blood helped Lu Chen maintain his consciousness. This was a battle of endurance. Lu Chen did not know how many blows he had received, but the steelback wild boar was also losing a lot of blood and stamina. 10 minutes later, the steelback wild boar's stamina was finally exhausted. It staggered a few steps and fell to the ground. Lu Chen was already covered in injuries. He barely stood in front of the steelback wild boar, and quickly bit the steelback wild boar's throat until it was completely dead. Then Lu Chen fainted. When Lu Chen woke up in the evening, he found that the wild boar's corpse had stiffened and the blood on the ground had congealed. Fortunately, it was winter now and the smell of blood had not completely spread. Otherwise, it would definitely attract other wild beasts. At that time, he would really have wasted his efforts. Lu Chen was seriously injured, but fortunately, there was a large amount of supplies nearby. He dragged the wild boar into the den and began to gorge himself. When he finished eating all the food in the wild boar's nest, he leveled up again. This upgrade also healed the injuries on his body. Lu Chen finally reached 2 stars. A 1-star wild boar could already walk unhindered in this forest. Lu Chen was now a 2-star wild boar. Unless he encountered some super strong wild beasts, there were no wild beasts in this forest that could threaten him. In the following days, Lu Chen searched everywhere for food. He didn't let go of any small wild beasts, spirit herbs, or spirit fruits. After winter, snow covered the forest and food became scarce. Fortunately, Lu Chen had a large reserve. Moreover, his white fur helped him catch food several times, so he didn't starve to death. However, in the depths of winter, the surrounding food could no longer support Lu Chen's survival. He had no choice but to search for food further away. In the process of searching for prey, Lu Chen accidentally found a 3-star bear monster that was hibernating. This was a rare opportunity. Lu Chen naturally wouldn't miss it. To deal with this guy, he had to kill it in one hit. Otherwise, when the bear monster woke up, the unlucky one would be Lu Chen. For this reason, Lu Chen spent some effort and spent a few days to find a stalagmite. He sharpened it and held it in his mouth. After identifying the location, Lu Chen directly pierced the bear monster's throat with the stone spike and ran away. After the bear monster woke up from the pain, it howled. However, it could only look at a white wolf coldly looking at it from afar. The white wolf's gaze was sinister and cold, as if waiting for the bear monster to die. The bear monster pulled out the stalagmite. Immediately, blood flowed from its wound. After holding on for more than half an hour, it finally breathed its last. Lu Chen had profited greatly this time. After eating his fill, his level had also risen to 3-star. The unique characteristic of the all-creation bloodline was that the higher the basic attributes, the greater the benefits. Now Lu Chen's body was comparable to an adult tiger. In addition to his all-creation bloodline, Lu Chen was confident that if he met a 3-star bear monster again, he wouldn't be weak. After the beginning of spring, Lu Chen's hunting range had greatly expanded. Lu Chen's hunting targets had also become some ferocious beasts. Jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards. As long as their stars didn't exceed 3-star, Lu Chen wouldn't let them go. Lu Chen's level also began to rise rapidly. 4-star, 6-star, 8-star, 9-star. After reaching 9-star, Lu Chen broke through a large realm and finally formed a beast core. Although the current beast core wasn't enough to activate a powerful cultivation technique, he could already use some movement techniques that didn't consume much energy. Currently he could use the triple gate. With such a godly skill like the triple gate, Lu Chen's hunting efficiency had greatly increased. As long as the prey was targeted by Lu Chen, it would be impossible for them to escape. Lu Chen continuously leveled up in the endless hunting bloodline. Spring passed and autumn came. Day after day, year after year. There were no humans in this world, only all kinds of powerful beasts. In the blink of an eye, it had already been 60 years since Lu Chen came to this world. Now Lu Chen's level had already reached 7-star 5-star. After leveling up, if he wanted to level up again, the difficulty would be thousands of times higher than before. His body was also no longer the same as before. His height had reached 15 meters, and his body length was over 20 meters. He was already a veritable wolf king. Now the beasts that Lu Chen hunted were all very high level. Some even exceeded the 9th rank. The beast cores of these beasts provided a large amount of materials for the myriad bloodline. Lu Chen's myriad bloodline had also leveled up. In the remaining 40 years, it wouldn't be difficult for Lu Chen to level up his myriad bloodline again. In these 60 years of his life as Wolf King, Lu Chen had discovered several architectural ruins. From these ruins, Lu Chen deduced that there had been intelligent creatures in this world a long time ago. It was just that for some reason, they had already gone extinct. Since then, this world had become a paradise for beasts. The beasts here had evolved by devouring, and now they had become extremely powerful rulers. 3 years later, Lu Chen saw a tall tower in the depths of the forest. Could it be a ruin left behind by those intelligent creatures of the past? Lu Chen hurriedly advanced in the direction of the tower. Arriving in front of the tower, Lu Chen saw a stone tablet before he even reached the tower. When Lu Chen noticed the stone tablet, the characters on the tablet automatically rearranged themselves. Before long, they formed Chinese characters that Lu Chen could understand. 100 lives of reincarnation have no beginning or end. 10,000 years of vicissitudes are all empty. The mirror's realm, the flower in the water. Break and become an emperor. Trap and become a prisoner. Lu Chen's eyes widened. This was really the mirror's realm. Not only that, this place seemed to be the key to surpassing the human king realm. Chapter 1381. There were realms above the human king realm. Lu Chen's breathing began to quicken. For immortals, the ancient realm was a place to comprehend concepts. However, for Lu Chen, he could still improve his realm here. This was something no immortal could do. After all, there were no immortals in the ancient realm, and Lu Chen happened to not be an immortal. Now Lu Chen received 2 pieces of news at the same time. The good news was that there were still human sovereigns above the human king realm. The bad news was that he was indeed trapped in the mirror realm. I wonder who left this stone tablet behind. It can actually transform into Chinese characters. It's so magical. It shouldn't be the work of humans. Lu Chen thought for a while but couldn't think of a reason. Then Lu Chen went to the tower in front of him. To Lu Chen's disappointment, this tower was only a library. The books inside were all words that Lu Chen couldn't understand. However, judging from the illustrations on the book covers, they seemed to be books that recorded past historical events. Perhaps before the extinction of an intelligent race, they had recorded the history of their race in this indestructible tower for their descendants. Unfortunately, there were no descendants in this world now, only countless wild beasts. Lu Chen lay in front of the tower frowning. From the hint of the stone tablet, he could either break the mirror realm, or be trapped in it forever. So, I still have to improve my strength. In the long years that followed, Lu Chen spent his time in endless hunting. 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, until the 100-year period. In this life, Lu Chen's myriad tribe bloodline had improved to the 2nd stage, 3 stars. However, his realm was still stuck at 18 stars, and there was still no movement. If Lu Chen's guess was correct, after reaching the 18-star human king realm, He might need a qualitative change, which was the human sovereign realm. 100 years was a long time, but after experiencing it and looking back, it seemed like a snap of the fingers. In the depths of the forest, Lucien closed his eyes slightly. He seemed to see his mother who had raised him when he was young, and also saw a group of female wolves who wanted to have sex. In this life he was a lone wolf, and he had finished walking. There was a familiar dizziness. Lucien silently prayed that he would be eliminated as a human. It was almost impossible for one person to explore the entire world, but in a world with people, at least some rumors could help him. I wonder what the situation outside is like. Lucien took a deep breath. Although he was worried about the war of the myriad races and immortals, he still had to find a way out. This time Lucien's luck was not bad. He was reincarnated into an ordinary family with good conditions. Moreover, he had an elder sister. When he was very young, Lucien discovered a very serious problem. His parents didn't allow him to be as mischievous as he was in his first life. They also didn't allow him to do any menial work. On the contrary, his sister, who was only 2 years older than him, had to do some menial work for the family when she was 6 or 7 years old. It was the same at home. His mother's name was Lu Jun. She was in charge of external affairs and making money. His father's name was Song Hui. He was in charge of internal affairs and took care of the wife and children. Even Lucien's surname was taken from his mother. Chinner, you're a boy. It's good for you to learn embroidery, or learn some zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Why do you have to learn martial arts from your sister? His mother said to Lucien earnestly. In the future, your sister will inherit the family business. Once you learn the skills, you can marry into a good family. Lucien almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Unfortunately, he was reincarnated into a normal family. However, this world was different from Earth. Here, women were superior to men. Lucien said with tears in his eyes, "Mother, I don't want to learn embroidery." "You child, I'm telling you, this is not up to you. In the second half of the year, I'll ask your father to send you to the male hall, and let the teacher teach you well." After saying that, his mother flung her sleeves and left the room. Lucien was speechless. If he couldn't learn martial arts in this life, what was the point of playing? It was better to end it on his own, and hurry to the next reincarnation. However, Lucien couldn't make up his mind. God knows what he would be reincarnated into in his next life. Last time he was a wolf, or a world that devoured evolution. However, if he reincarnated into a pig or a dog, wouldn't it be even worse? Forget it. If women were superior to men, then so be it. In other worlds that valued men more than women, there were also women who practiced martial arts. Lucien couldn't go against his parents' orders at such a young age. In the second half of the year, he went to the male hall to learn male etiquette and learned embroidery and weaving. Usually, Lucien would pester his sister to teach him martial arts. Lucien's sister was called Lu Jiao. She loved her little brother very much. She couldn't stand Lucien's pestering and secretly taught him martial arts. These peaceful days were broken when Lucien was 16 years old. On this day, his mother called Lucien to the living room. At this time, there were 3 or 4 bold women sitting in the living room. They were all looking at Lucien. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is my son Lucien. He's 16 years old this year." Chinner greets ladies and gentlemen. "Aya, Sister Lu is so lucky. We haven't seen each other for a few years, and your son has already grown so big. He's now a slender and elegant bud." "Yes, Chung. Do you still remember me? I even hugged you when you were young." I didn't expect Chen to change so much and become so beautiful. I heard that young Master Lu usually doesn't leave the house except for going to the male hall. It's hard to find a man who's so obedient nowadays. I was wondering why I hadn't heard of any family's young master being so outstanding. It turns out that Chen never leaves the house. Lu Chen's face was full of despair. What kind of adjectives were these? Why were they used on him? Slender and elegant? I'm slender and elegant, your head. What do you mean by not leaving the house, obedient and elegant? That's me secretly cultivating in my room. His mother also felt proud. She took out Lu Chen's handkerchief and showed it to everyone. "Ladies and gentlemen, take a look. This is my son's handkerchief. Does it meet your eyes? Lu Chen sighed. That handkerchief was something he asked his classmate to do for him. How could he do such a thing? Aya, it's really well done. Chener is indeed clever with his hands. Damn it, what kind of world is this? I'm about to go crazy. Lu Chen cursed in his heart. Lu Chen's mother chatted with everyone for a while before finally getting to the main topic. Regarding my son's marriage, I'll have to trouble all of you. You're too kind. Chener's looks are outstanding and he's brimming with talent. He's educated and well-mannered. Ladies from every family will definitely fight over him. Old Lu, don't worry. Leave this matter to us. A few months later, sure enough, a lady from a big family came to visit, just to see Lu Chen's beautiful face. At night, Lu Chen sneaked into his sister's room with a sullen face. Chena, what's wrong? Lu Jiao looked at Lu Chen in surprise. Is it because you don't like any of the ladies? Lu Chen said weakly, Sister, I don't want to marry. No, I don't want to get married. Lu Jiao smiled and patted Lu Chen's shoulder. Silly child. Women and men should get married when they're of age. What's wrong with that? How can you really play with knives and sticks every day? Which family's men are as mischievous as you? Sister, you haven't even started a family yet. I'm different. I'm a woman. If I don't start a career, how can I start a family? Mother wants me to join the army next year to fight against the mutants. I'll go for you. Nonsense. You're a boy. Do you think you'll have a good time in the army? If those women know that there's a man in the army, do you know what the consequences will be? His sister said sternly. Lu Chen thought about it in reverse. It did seem a little dangerous. Although he really wanted to find a wife, he couldn't resist an army of hundreds of thousands. This damned 100 lives of reincarnation was really going to play him to death. Chapter 1382. In the end, Lu Chen was still betrothed to the seventh daughter of the Tian family, an official of the military academy in the city. To be able to marry into an official's family, the Lu family's status was further elevated. However, it could only be said that Lu Chen was unlucky. It was agreed that the seventh daughter would return from the army in half a year, so the two families held a wedding ceremony first. However, the seventh daughter died on the battlefield. Lu Chen had not even seen her, and had already lost his wife. The head of the Tian family called Lu Chen in front of him. Chener, you just married into the family and the seventh daughter. Matriarch said and could not help but wipe her tears. Chener, we won't force you. If you want to remarry, the Tian family will not have any objections. Lu Chen sighed and said firmly, Chener will not remarry. Born as a member of the Tian family, I will die as a ghost of the Tian family. This child, the Tian family has mistreated you. Chener doesn't feel mistreated, but Chener has a request. There's no harm in saying it. The Tian family is a martial arts family. Even the men in the family can practice martial arts. Since I married the seventh daughter, I am a member of the Tian family. I hope Matriarch will allow me to practice martial arts. Of course. The Tian family's scholarly achievements were built on horseback. You are the husband of the Tian family, so naturally, you can practice martial arts. Matriarch said. Men are not inferior to women. Not only can you practice martial arts, as long as you can reach the corresponding level, your resources will be distributed according to the Tian family standards. Lu Chen heaved a sigh of relief. He had been oppressed for more than 10 years in this life. He did not expect that this time, he could finally practice martial arts openly. It was said that the seventh daughter was very beautiful. Unfortunately, Lu Chen did not have such luck. However, to be able to exchange it for a chance to practice martial arts normally, this marriage was not a loss. In the beginning, Lu Chen went through some systematic learning, and had a detailed understanding of the Wuxia continent. Putting aside the custom of women being superior to men, the Wuxia continent was also a standard martial arts world. Martial arts were respected, and there were many strong people. The martial way here was still inseparable from spiritual energy. However, compared to the Tianyuan continent that focused on spiritual veins, the people here focused more on the strength of the body. From low to high, they were divided into 9 realms: warrior, martial artist, and martial master. Each realm had 9 levels. In addition to martial artists, there were also alchemists, blacksmiths, and necromancers. Together, they formed the complete martial Dao system of the Wuxia continent. In the past, Lu Chen had always been cultivating in secret. His cultivation level was only at the 3rd level of the martial warrior realm. Although Lu Chen's cultivation level did scare some people, as no ordinary man could reach the 3rd level of the martial warrior realm. However, after the initial shock, Lu Chen's rank was still not worth mentioning in the Tian family. At night, when Lu Chen was alone in his room, he finally had a chance to sort out the clues. Judging from the situation of the Tianyuan continent and the Wuxia continent, one places more emphasis on spiritual energy, while the other places more emphasis on physical strength. Both can be cultivated to a level second only to tribulation immortals. Including the life when I became the Wolf King, I also cultivated to the level of a 9 tribulation Wolf King. In other words, if these worlds are like the Jiotian world, it's equivalent to me having to cultivate to the 9-star King realm again and again. 100 lives of reincarnation, which means that I have to cultivate from an ordinary person to the human king realm 100 times. However, even immortals can't guarantee that they can cultivate to the human king realm in every life. For example, when the Lu family was destroyed in the Tianyuan continent, Lu Chen had a narrow escape. If he died, he naturally couldn't reach the heavenly spirit realm. In the Wolf King's first life, the female wolf brought Lu Chen into a forest full of danger. The slightest carelessness would have caused the mother and son to die in the mouth of a tiger. In this life, if Lu Chen chose another family, he might have to scrupulously abide by women's virtues, take care of his wife, and teach his children. He wouldn't have the opportunity to cultivate at all. Most importantly, who knew what kind of strange world the next world would be? Thinking of this, Lu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes. Since I'm a human and not an immortal, I have to enter the reincarnation cycle. And to break through to the human king realm, does it mean that I have to be the human king realm 100 times before I can defy heaven and change my fate to become the human emperor? The more Lu Chen thought about it, the more he thought so. Disregarding his strange 18-star human king identity, if he only calculated according to the limit of 9-star, without experiencing unimaginable hardships, how could a human defeat an immortal? Thinking of this possibility, Lu Chen suddenly had a bold idea. With his strength, the advantage of the universal bloodline, and the advantage of the celestial demon origin cultivation method, he might be able to cultivate to the human king realm many times in one life. He wanted to leave the mirror realm as soon as possible, so he couldn't waste a second. This is my 3rd life. To the outside world, it should be my 5th year in the 10,000 spirits ancient realm. The war of the 10,000 races is imminent. If I can complete 100 rounds of the human king realm in this life, I might have a chance to leave early. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Completing 100 rounds of the human king realm in one life was simply unimaginable to the average person. Even if an immortal entered this world, it was impossible to complete it. But Lu Chen knew that he had to try. Then I'll borrow the power of the Tian family. Lu Chen had just made up his mind when he suddenly saw a figure moving outside the door. He opened the door abruptly and saw a figure fall in directly from the outside. Lu Chen looked at the person in surprise. When she got up, she seemed to be at a loss. Miss Jiao? What are you doing here at this time of night? Brother-in-law, Miss Jiao was 2 years younger than Lu Chen. Her appearance was exquisite and impeccable, and her long hair was tied up with a heroic spirit. At this moment, her eyes were a little flustered, but she couldn't help but size up Lu Chen. It was late at night, and Lu Chen was wearing very little, so the muscles on his chest could be vaguely seen. Miss Jiao stared at Lu Chen's chest for a few seconds, and swallowed her saliva. Brother-in-law, I was afraid that you would be hungry. Lu Chen saw Miss Jiao's gaze and knew what she was thinking. Usually, the few women in the residence would often sneak glances at him, like a cat that was hungry for fish. Although Lu Chen would be happy to help Miss Jiao satisfy her cravings, the Wuxia continent was different from other worlds. The requirements for men here were particularly strict. If one wanted to establish a foothold in the Tian family, one must not do anything out of line. Such a beautiful girl. Yet Lu Chen still couldn't touch her. Ninth sister, I'm not hungry. It's getting late. If people see you here, they will inevitably gossip. You should leave early. Suddenly, Miss Jiu turned around and closed the door. Then, she strode in front of Lu Chen and grabbed his wrist. Chen'er, I like you. Ninth sister, what are you doing? Lu Chen looked at Miss Jiu in horror. Is this woman going to use force? I don't care anymore. In a moment of desperation, Lu Chen directly struck out with his palm. Miss Jiu didn't expect Lu Chen to have so much strength. She was directly sent flying and broke the door. Lu Chen's punch was surprisingly strong, mainly because he was heartbroken. Listen, if you dare to harass me again, I will break your legs, Lu Chen said with tears in his eyes. Little Beast, Little Furball, and Little Originator waited in front of the ancient temple for more than a year. Now Guing and the others said that Lu Chen had definitely entered the Mirror Realm. The Mirror Realm? Little Beast was in a trance. Can Dad still come out? The Venerable Saint Martial Celestial shook his head. I don't know. It's said that one can't return to the Jiutian after entering the Mirror Realm. But that's just a rumor. No one who has really entered the Mirror Realm has ever come out. Guing looked at Little Beast, Little Furball, and Little Originator in despair and felt sorry for Lu Chen. Little Beast, my condolences. Little Beast suddenly raised its head and said angrily, I believe Dad will come out. He won't leave us alone. The Venerable Saint Martial Celestial suddenly said, Little Beast is right. None of us are qualified to make a conclusion about the outcome of the Mirror Realm. But you should return to the human realm now. Little Beast asked, why? The war of the 10,000 clans against the human clan will begin in 7 months. For the human clan, it may be the final battle. Chapter 1383. The Little Beast knew that the Myriad Clan's immortal war was what its father was most concerned about. After much hesitation, it took the Little Furball and the Little Originator back to the human immortal realm. Guing, accompany them back, Saint Martial Immortal said. Without the visiting order, it would be inconvenient for the Little Beast and the others to return. Yes, Immortal Master. Before the Little Beast left, it looked back at the ancient temple, took a deep breath and murmured, Dad, we will wait for you in the human immortal realm. Early in the morning, the female generals of the Tian family had already come out of the martial arts field of the Tian family. The Tian family was a martial arts family, and the most important thing in practicing martial arts was perseverance. The female generals' shouts could be heard from the martial arts field, and every move they made must be done with all their strength. At this moment, a tall man walked straight into the martial arts field. Today, Lu Chen was dressed in a white robe. His long hair was tied to the top of his head according to the rules of the extreme martial world. Lu Chen's height of 1.9 meters was outstanding here. When Lu Chen was serious, he had a manly temperament that no man in this world had. The group of young female generals on the training field couldn't help but stop and look at Lu Chen curiously. It's 7th brother-in-law. Is he really going to practice martial arts? He does look like he is, but practicing martial arts is not something that can be done in a day. He seems to be a 3rd-level martial warrior, which is considered high among men. But in our Tian family, even a servant is higher than this. Lu Chen ignored the discussion around him and walked to the weapon rack. 5th young lady looked at Lu Chen with great interest. 7th brother-in-law, do you want to use a sword or something? The weapons here are too heavy. Let me help you choose a suitable one. Lu Chen faintly smiled. Train intent! After that, Lu Chen's eyes fell on a 2-meter-long spear hanging on the wall. He kicked the bottom of the spear with his right foot, and the spear was kicked high into the air and flew directly to the martial arts field. Lu Chen stepped on the stairs, somersaulted, and caught the spear in mid-air. With the long spear in hand, even if yin and yang intersected and the world turned upside down, it would still be difficult to stop Lu Chen's footsteps. The heavy spear in his hand moved even more smoothly. The spear in his hand struck out like a dragon, its spear momentum ever-changing. Before the spear arrived, the killing intent had already arrived. What kind of spear art is this? That country protecting divine martial spear in seventh brother-in-law's hands is like an extension of his arm, changing unpredictably. Seventh brother-in-law's marksmanship is unrestrained, yet firm and soft. It's simply as you wish. It's impossible to master such spear arts without decades of practice. A valiant woman cupped her fists beside Lu Chun and said, "Brother-in-law, I, Tianing, would like to ask for brother-in-law's advice on spear techniques. What do you think?" Lu Chun withdrew his spear and glanced sideways. This woman was the eldest daughter of the Tian family, the #1 expert among the younger generation of the Tian family. She was also a military officer at the border of the Holy Hall Empire. She had just returned home a few days ago to attend the funeral of her 7th younger sister. "Big sister, please," Lu Chun said. Tianing was using a heavy saber. It seemed to be even heavier than Lu Chun's spear. Tianing cupped her fists and said, "Brother-in-law, I'm a martial warrior level 4. I'll only use the strength of a martial warrior level 3 later." Lu Chun said indifferently, "No need. Go all out." Ah. Everyone was stunned. Lu Chun actually wanted Big Sister to go all out when there was a difference of a whole realm? When one reached the martial warrior level, they would form a spirit nucleus. The power of their every move was fundamentally different from that of a martial warrior. Lu Chun smiled and said, "Big sister, a lion and a tiger will go all out when hunting a rabbit. Don't worry, I'll know when to stop." Everyone was even more shocked. Lu Chun knew when to stop? It was the opposite. At this moment, the Tian family's matriarch happened to be inspecting the martial arts field and saw this scene. The butler frowned slightly and said, "Isn't this 7th brother-in-law a little too arrogant?" The matriarch didn't say anything and said, "I've long heard that young Master Lu likes to practice martial arts. That's good too. Let this child experience what it means to be an expert. Inger will go easy on him." Tianing thought for a moment. Lu Chun was still young after all. It was inevitable that he didn't have much experience. With his strength, it was normal for him to be conceited among his peers, especially men. Tianing also saw the matriarch. Since the matriarch didn't say anything to stop him, it seemed that she also wanted to teach Lu Chun a lesson. "Chuner, be careful." Tianying's body exploded with a strong spirit energy. She slashed at Lu Chun with the mountain-splitting chop. This slash was heavy and powerful. Lu Chun hadn't formed a spirit nucleus yet, so he couldn't take it head-on. Lu Chun narrowed his eyes. Although he could defeat 10 with brute force, he wasn't just 10 with brute force. Seeing the opponent slash, Lu Chun took a wrong step. When he turned around, his white robe fluttered. Just as the opponent's saber was about to fall, Lu Chun moved half a body's length away and turned around with a spear. Tianying's saber fell to the ground, but Lu Chun's spear just happened to stop at Tianying's throat. Half a minute more and Tianying would have lost her life under the spear. But Lu Chun had calculated the opponent's position to the extreme. Not half a minute more, not half a minute less. When the opponent's move was about to fall, it was the time to subdue the enemy. Seeing this scene, the matriarch was dumbfounded. Tianing had been on the battlefield for a long time and had rich combat experience. In a situation where she was a realm higher than Lu Chun, she was defeated by Lu Chun in one move. It was simply unimaginable. Tianying's eyes were filled with horror. Her body was drenched in sweat. She could already feel the spear's tip at her throat. If she really wanted to kill Lu Chun, if she took another step, her throat would have been pierced by Lu Chun's spear. This guy was too scary. Lu Chun put away his spear and cupped his fists at Tianing. "Eldest sister, sorry for the offense." Tianing was still in a daze. Her speed was far superior to Lu Chun's, but Lu Chun's timing was too accurate. "Brother-in-law, who is your master?" Tianing asked. "I'm just self-taught." Lu Chun smiled. He was a wild 18-star human monarch. How could he have a master? "Eldest sister, if there's a chance, bring me to the frontier fortress next time." Tianing did not directly refuse Lu Chun. After all, she had been defeated by Lu Chun. How could she be qualified to criticize Lu Chun? After stretching his muscles, Lu Chun went to the cultivation room to cultivate his spiritual power. After a long time, Tianing finally recovered. The housekeeper was waving at her, as though the matriarch wanted to ask her something. Inger, did you really lose to Luchin just now? The matriarch frowned slightly. Could it be that you guys agreed on it? Tianing cupped her fists and replied. I did lose just now. Chen-er's spear skills are too exquisite. I've been in the army for 10 years, and have never seen such accurate spear skills. The matriarch narrowed her eyes. Chen-er, that kid, was really a martial arts prodigy? I've been in the army for 30 years and have never seen such smooth spear skills. Chen-er said he was going to the frontier fortress to kill enemies? Chen-er did say that. The matriarch nodded. Flowers come from the bitter cold, and spears come from sharpening. If he's really a martial arts prodigy, experiencing the baptism of the battlefield will also be beneficial for him. Moreover, since Chen-er married into the Tian family, the Tian family will naturally serve the country. Mutants killed Old 7. It seems that Chen-er has long thought about revenge. Tianing looked at the matriarch in surprise. Did she agree? The cultivation resources in the army are far from what our Tian family can compare to. When you return to the army this time, take Chen-er with you. Remember to take good care of him. Tianing cupped her fists. I understand that you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.